Hello, welcome to the Holistic Healer Podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things holistic. I am your host, Cheryl Lee. Today's guest is Dan McDonald, formerly known as the Liferegenerator. Dan is a teacher and a guide, and he is passionate about living foods, fasting, juicing, spirituality, meditation, and prayer. Today, we sit down to discuss spirituality, clearing out emotional trauma and debris, what it means to do the work, self-love, surrender, and so much more. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holistic Healer Podcast. I am your host, Cheryl Lee. And today's guest, I'm so excited to have on my show, Dan McDonald, otherwise known as the Liferegenerator. And I'm super excited. He has such a passion for health, for living foods, for spirituality, fasting, all of the amazing things in life. And his elite Patreon Elite Video Club I belong to his club, and it is such a beautiful platform for sharing and growing and evolving, and highly recommend it. And your ability to speak the truth to, anybody who is looking for deeper truths and meaning in their life, this platform, your Patreon Elite Video Club, is just like bar none. So, and I have gone through others, and yours is, I love it. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for that. Yeah, it's right now the Elite Video Club is the only place that I feel comfortable. And that's an issue that I'm working through. I was just talking to my girlfriend this morning about how, like, in America, it's like everybody has to be somebody, and it's almost like kind of fake.
Yeah.
And then over in Europe, it's more like the more real you are, the more authentic you are. It's kind of opposite.
Right.
Just the way that we've been raised.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say the Elite Video Club, it's really a nice place. And I always joke around, and many of the people have been there since day one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a family of 2 years. And so I trust them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to be more authentic, which I crave, which I think I was more in the beginning. And then people were like, hey, the RV days, remember,
Mm-hmm.
I was just my crazy self. But then business partners, and I became the front man for several people behind me, feeding many people. And so I just went, and so there was that, which was, I was just thinking that this morning of, I had 2 kids, and I had a $60,000 child support debt, and I had a $700 a month child support payment, but I was paying like $2,000 or $2,500 a month. So, the modern world and our responsibilities. And then you're like, over the years. And then, of course, I started talking about cancer like about 7 or 8 or 9 years ago. I can't even really remember. And then they started canceling me. And then the COVID thing has been ultra canceled. And then they took away my YouTube channel. Then you got the haters. And then the biggest thing is being afraid of your own light.
Yes.
That's what scares me the most, is that, I'm like, when it's just me and what I really think and really truly believe, it's like precious.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see some of that on the Elite Video Club. You've maybe seen some of the older ones where I wasn't in very good form. So it fluctuates. You see the real stuff. And then on social media, everyone is perfect. Everything is wonderful. My diet is perfect. I never struggle. I'm a carnivore and everything is perfect. And when I was a vegan, I was dying. But when I was a vegan, everything was perfect. Now that I'm a carnivore, everything is perfect. And I was all screwed up as a vegan and blah, 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 blah. And I personally am getting sick of myself being. So I make 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 videos a day.
Yeah.
Expressing my real somewhat. No one is ever going to be fully, sharing every single thing, but I lost authenticity along the way. And I'm glad to actually have the opportunity to say that right now to you.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing that I appreciate so much about your platform is you're so vulnerable and you're honest. And, if you're having a bad day, you can just show it if you're having a good day. But I agree with you. This whole idea of, like I like to say, the toxic positivity that is out there where everyone portrays themselves as being, happy. And if you experience anything other than happiness and joy, there's something wrong with you. And it doesn't allow people to really be authentic, to be vulnerable. And they walk around armored up, they're not true, their true self. And, I 100% agree. So with your platform, it's just so beautiful to see, especially for a man to be vulnerable, because most men, they don't express it at all through fear, through whatever's holding them back. But it gives other men an invitation to be able to express themselves in that way. And I think it's beautiful, your platform.
Yeah, there's been definitely ups and downs. And I think one of the reasons why, and then what you're afraid of is like, see, I told you you're deficient. And it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
am not deficient. I am almost 50 years old and I will smoke your ass. Who are
Yeah.
you talking to, Dan? I'm talking to all of everybody. I
Yeah.
have endurance and vitality and virility. So none of that crap. They're like, well, you're skinny though. And it's like, yes, God made me skinny. It's because I'm a sadhaka.
Yeah.
I'm a yogi. I just sit here on this yoga mat and meditate for many hours a day but I'm not going to lower my bar.
Right.
I'm not going to lower the vision that I had. And I just reread the Essene Gospel of Peace yesterday.
Mm.
I read the whole thing in one sitting. When I first
Wow,
read it, it took
amazing.
a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
I had to digest it. I
Yeah.
was able to read that whole thing and it reminded me, the Essene Gospel of Peace, what started me out 23 years ago in the first place.
Yeah.
And so but believe me, I just want to say it. I mean, I am going through the ringer
Mm-hmm.
right now because I always used to say, I'm trying to wake up. And people are like, you're the most awake dude, because yeah, I've read all the books and I do
Mm-hmm.
have a pretty good grasp on, reality.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to discuss reality. There's no way to describe reality, but you get a sense that there's something beyond. And so I'm in that space of I'm aware of what I don't know.
Right.
And so that is humbling, but it's also can be, paralyzing in a way because you're like, well, I know a little bit about a little tiny microscopic amount, but it's really nothing on the grand scale of the infinite intelligence and consciousness that's available to us.
Absolutely. And just, always looking to evolve and to grow. And, that sometimes doesn't mean, you just mentioned, maybe you're thin and other people see that as somehow being unhealthy. But, these are all projections of other people's crap onto other people. And oftentimes it's coming from people who haven't even done any work. They haven't looked into themselves. They haven't, even started to unpack their own wounding or their trauma. So it's like getting rid of that need to please, the people pleaser that kind of resides in so many of us, to say the right things, to want to be accepted, all of these things is just not helping us on our own path of growth and evolution, in my opinion. So,
And I'm just really, really guilty of it
yeah,
because
me
of,
too,
and,
100%.
and it's, you could, to sum it up, like money, but it's also more of, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to hear from these anonymous nobodies
Yeah.
about my sacred journey, which I value above all the money in the world, all the accolades. It's like a relationship with God, this inner calling, and it's reaching a fever pitch. And there's so many factors that keep pushing the Dan McDonald being towards wanting to be a better man, because there's the one context of I'm a man, I'm the masculine in this in the relationship that's really been a huge thing that's pushing me forward, because I was like sleepwalking because I had no training on what a man is. I had no good examples. my dad, he just got up, went to work, paid the bills. I mean, and there was a lot of stuff there, that happened. And it was, and then the mom. And so all the childhood stuff, but there was no good examples of how to be a man, how to treat a woman, what a real man does, how he acts, how he treats a woman, what a woman is there for, to guide your dumb ass to a higher level of consciousness. And our society puts, well, he's the leader of the family. And in certain ways he is, but if your woman is intuitive and she is spiritual, she's going to be guiding your dumb ass to wake up and become evolved. Now, you might provide finances if you're a good man, and a safe and stable place for her to create. And a protection, but she is going to be an inspiration, if she's the right woman for you, to evolve yourself, to get out of the little and allow your spirit to evolve to its higher self. Now it is more rare. And even in relationships where there may not be a lot of super consciousness, it's still the truth. If the man loves his woman and the woman loves the man, and there's any decency and integrity at all, she's going to help guide him to become a better person. But we have to get out of our complacency, our resistance, our programming, and we have to be humble and see that is what's happening. I just so happen to be in a relationship with a woman who is absolutely galactic. I mean, she is like out of this world consciousness levels. But then I see to myself, I wrote her a little note this morning, like, I know God loves me because you're in my life. And believe me, it's been a 5-year, I said it, excuse my language, but I said on Valentine's Day, I said it's been a 5-year shit show. And you could definitely blame me, but it's actually two people helping each other to grow. Like, a woman needs to be like, listen, if you cross this line, I ain't talking to you anymore, sucker. Like, women need to create strong boundaries and stand up for themselves so that it forces the man to either grow or get gone.
Absolutely.
So in this situation, it's been a divine relationship where we're helping each other grow, but it doesn't mean it's been a real cakewalk.
No, but oftentimes, oftentimes the relationships though are cakewalks. There's no growth in that though. The growth comes from the times that aren't so good. They come from the times that are, when you're often in that kind of resistance with each other, and you push through that and you get to the next layer. But, when you're in a relationship and you're just kind of going through the motions, I mean, there's nothing in that really, and a lot of people are in relationships that are like that. But, I think as beings who are, some people have had very easy, I always like to go back to childhood because my belief is that, that's where it all starts. That's where we glean our tendencies, our information. Like you said, we learn from what we got, what we didn't get from our parents. And, some people don't have those types of upbringings, and it's not that, you wish anything on anyone like that. However, I think the people who have had a little bit more of a turbulent upbringing, perhaps with the risk of not sounding like I'm trying to sound like superior or anything, but in a sense, when you have more challenges, I feel like it just creates more evolution and enlightenment as you're moving through life, if that makes sense.
Or it could produce like a really jaded person as well.
Well, it can, depending on what your tools are to deal with that, for sure.
And that may be the majority that just, they don't, because this growth stuff is hard work. And I thought I was, something or other, but until I went into the wilderness for 10 days to do a water fast to clear the sorrow and the guilt. I call it the bundle of sorrow, but it was like guilt and shame and grief for the decisions that were made and the bad choices and the regrets. And then
Yes.
it was this bundle of sorrow just sitting on my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the distractions everywhere, I couldn't get to it. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was like on a mission.
Right.
And I hiked out into the wilderness and I just sat there. And it was like, you probably saw the video, but
Yeah.
it was 7 days of suffering and penance while I
Yeah.
wrote down in my journal, and I got all these downloads about you did this, you did that. Oh my God. And then it was showing me all the things that I just didn't want to see. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever she would kind of bring it up, I would just be resistant, hesitant, make excuses. And then finally, when I went into the wilderness to feel, look at, and release, I call it just, I mean, to oversimplify, it's a little cryptic, but penance for my sins.
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
see sins now as a different thing. And I had this weird experience. I mean, it was like God was literally talking to me, like we're talking now.
Yeah.
Now, that voice is still there and it's in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're out in the wilderness, fasting on spring water flowing out of the mountainous hills, and you're naked in the wilderness, sleeping on the ground, starts getting real clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just talking to me. I had a point, and then I kind of went off on a tangent.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about kind of the feminine, and the masculine and what it means to show up as the masculine in the relationship. And, the feminine, allowing the feminine to basically guide the man into, the way that he shows up within the relationship. And I just wanted to add to that. I mean, I think for a very long time, we've lived kind of in a masculine run society, and we cancel the feminine out very easily with the intuitive nudges and these types of things within the relationship. So yeah, I like what you were saying about that, just to kind of what does that mean to show up as the masculine and the feminine, and to allow the feminine to guide the masculine in that way.
So, Shirley, I got to tell you, I remembered what the point was, and that's the DTM tangent brain. But then
Yeah.
it's better and better over the years. But God told me, that you need to pay for your own sins. Now, I know that's controversial with Christianity being
Yep. Mm-hmm.
nobody loves Jesus more than me, believe me. But it told me not necessarily to tell everyone else, but it just told me that you got to pay for your own sins.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I was there. I had never thought of a penance fast, but that's what came to me when I was out there paying the debt that I owed to the field, not only between myself and the woman that I love,
Right.
but also the field of the whole divine union itself. I was clearing the field
Yes.
in us as individuals and clearing the field for divine union itself. And since I came out, I haven't been going around telling everybody what I've done, but a few of my friends know, and I'll be
Mhm.
talking to them and they'll be like, hey, thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
And the women that I know in my life that are my friends, they're like, thanks for doing that. I wish
Mhm.
more guys would do it. And
Yeah.
I do want to help the guys for sure. And that's
Yeah.
a part of where I want to go, because I've been in this relationship for 5 years, but only waking up in the last few months, to be
Mhm.
honest. I'm getting a massive crash course on how to be a man.
Mhm.
And so it has been very difficult. And then it's intertwined with this lack of authenticity,
Right.
fears about all this other stuff. And so I'm basically like, the last Elite Video Club, the vibe was really high because I had just come out of the woods.
Yeah.
But then I went over and saw my ex-wife and my
Mm.
kids, and that was like a downward spiral of like vibrational energy of like, you didn't do enough. Like, my ex-wife traumatized me.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you've been married before, you
I
know what I'm
I
talking about.
understand.
It's like, I did everything I could. I gave
Yeah.
you way more than the state asked me. I tried, but anyways, that was just, I was traumatized by my mother,
Mhm.
traumatized by women, and I don't blame them. I'm grateful for all of it, but then I
Sure.
saw that I'm like jaded, and I projected all of those traumas onto this my relationship that I'm in now.
Yeah.
And she was never anything like that. She never did any of that. So I was very, very unconscious. And that's what I've learned recently is as enlightened as you think you are, and everyone thinks they're like, everyone on the internet is an enlightened master. Okay. I am a wandering fool. I have no clue. I can sit here and we can have this conversation, but ask me, what do you really know? It's like,
don't really know anything at all.
Not that much compared to what is knowable.
Yes.
But then there is also just that there are those moments if you become a more consistent meditator and have a meditation practice that starts at least with 1 hour a day, but then many, many times, like when I was in the wilderness, I mean, that's all I did for about 4 to 6 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Wow.
Also, when I was in Europe, trying to do repair work on this relationship, I was also meditating 4, 6, 8 hours a day. And it's just like things just keep getting worse because I keep getting more and more aware.
Yeah.
And the distractions, it's like are getting it's terrible. Like the distractions that we do, as you compare, you go into the wilderness, you have a book, Gabriel Cousens' Spiritual Nutrition.
Yeah.
Thank God I brought that book. And then I had a notebook.
Yep.
And that was it. Then what do? You just sit there and you feel your feelings. And then I would do like tiny little light walks, Thich Nhat Hanh style, like very, very slowly because I had no energy. I mean, I wouldn't say I had no energy, but when I fast, I don't exercise. So I wasn't out there tromping the trails. I was just very slowly walking through these walking meditations. And that's where God was giving me all these downloads, of which I did write down in the journal. And so there's a lot of things that I'd like to share with people eventually.
Yeah.
I guess we're kind of doing that now because this relationship thing has been huge because there's somebody in my life that inspires me to change. Whereas before it was a little bit coming from myself, like reading books and wanting to evolve. There's always been that in there.
Right.
Then when it comes to this relationship and something that truly matters to me, another human being who inspires me, I've really been trying to get to the next level of presence, consciousness, solidity, like what's going on deep down inside. And I think a lot of people have stuff going on inside, but on the internet, again, you come back to everyone puts their best foot forward and anyone can do that. I mastered it somewhat. Yeah. But I lost that authenticity, which has this vibration. And then you're like, okay, you're just, he's cool and he's going through the motions and it's great. And we're just going through the motions for our careers and putting our best foot forward and everyone's perfect. And I hope that those days are just getting behind me because it's just gross.
Well, I also think too, on social media, especially, when you're portraying yourself as kind of just going through the motions, knowing that you're going through the motions, but maybe others not seeing it like that, it doesn't make people uncomfortable because it makes them, they don't, when you start talking about maybe how you're uncomfortable and some things that might hit close to home with others, it kind of shines a light on maybe other people's traumas and woundings that they don't or haven't even looked at, so it makes people uncomfortable. And people don't like being uncomfortable. And, they live in kind of a bubble world where they just want to think and show themselves as being perfect. But that's not real. That's not reality, and I feel like as you get older too, I mean, I know for me now, it's like, I can't tolerate that anymore. Like it's so abrasive to me, the inauthenticity of people. I want to see people who are real, who are, showing how they truly feel. That's where it's at.
Yeah, that's going to be the new wave of the internet. I don't see much of that right now, but it's going to have to be that way for myself.
Yes.
And you're going to, there are some bold people that are going to challenge people's concepts. Like if I say, Jesus didn't pay for your sins, you got to pay for your sins. And there's only one way. through fasting. And they're like, well, I don't want to fast.
Yeah.
And Jesus paid for my sins because those are my concepts.
Yeah.
And those concepts I've learned over the years are actually prison bars. And so if you want to be in prison, you go right on ahead. Now, hey, you might have like a dietary thing that you find really works for you. You might have religious beliefs that really work for you. But make sure that you're not imprisoning yourself with these rigid concepts, because if you are so sure of the immediate, you cancel the potential of you realizing the ultimate.
Yeah,
And
right.
so you have to let go, and you have to find out, like, you have to rigidly ask yourself about all the different things, like, why do I eat living foods? And it's also important, to not judge others either, because you realize that you can't force rigid concepts on others, but we all do that on the internet. And it's a limitation and a lack of infinite context and understanding that there are 7.8 billion people on the planet, and that each one of them has their own unique expression and experience.
Exactly. I've talked about that a lot on this podcast about, the whole judgment piece, because I think in the living food space with anything really, if you're in the carnivore community, if you're in the keto, it doesn't matter where it is, wherever there's like a kind of a isolated, whatever it happens to be, there's an undertone of judgment there. And I think it's so important to, not only for yourself, but for others. It's like, everyone's on their own path. Everybody has their own unique journey. Everyone, can make their own choices, and it frees you to allow them to have that journey. And it also frees them up, to maybe actually hear what you're saying. Whenever you're in judgment, like when we feel into judgment, there's a big resistance there. The energetic of judgment is very resistant. So, yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, on your path, like going back to your Aberdeen days, because I've heard you talk about that, and where, you were raised, and looking back on that time in your life, like along this path up until this present moment, did you ever do any like inner child work? Did you ever like really look at those stages in life where you maybe felt less than, unworthy, abandoned, all of these, feelings that we can have? Did you ever actually try to unpack that at all along the
Yeah,
way?
all day yesterday,
Yeah.
all this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then specifically for the last several months.
Right.
I mean, I'm on a real crash course right now,
Yeah.
because I almost ruined this relationship with the most important and special person that I've ever known,
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
because of all of that shite,
Yeah.
not worthy, traumas, abandonment,
Yep.
intimacy issues, love hurts. It's my daddy. And it's like, he's my only source of love. So please don't take me away from him, even though I've got stripes up and down my back from the belt, and I'm getting kicked and punched and thrown against the wall. But I'm still going to defend my abuser because he's the only source of love that I've got. Love hurts. Love is scary, you know? And so, of course, I mean, like, I am like a real basket case, but at the same time, if I can tap into the Most High, some part of me chose this. And,
Yes.
and so here I am going through it, but then, and I've got this career on YouTube, which is literally falling apart because I'm so frozen because of my inability. Like, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to hear the Christians. I don't want to hear the carnivores. I don't want to hear the raw vegans.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anything from anyone.
Yeah.
Because on the back end, yes, I'm challenged by my desire to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm also like, I'm almost 50 and I'm like tearing it up.
Yeah.
I've walked hundreds of miles. I have unbelievable vitality. I sleep like a baby, and I've done things, one of the things that impressed me, I've been fasting about 7 to 10 days each month for the last 2 years.
Wow.
And so, and then I'm in Europe just drinking water with a little bit of lemon in it, and I'm able to just go. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going up this mountain I was fully fed, but then coming down the mountain 10 miles with a fully loaded pack with no food for 10 days.
Oh,
And
wow,
I'm
that's
still
amazing.
have enough energy and strength in this skinny little body, because they're like, he's deficient. I am not deficient,
No.
but you get sick of hearing it. I'm actually loaded with power. My testicles are full of life.
Yeah.
And my body is filled with life, and it's my heart is I mean, there's no end to the level of mental clarity that you can have through fasting and meditation and, sexual continence and whatnot. I mean, you can seal up all these leaks and become a very powerful individual. And I would say for me, I've just set the bar really high. So there isn't any drugs or alcohol or, junk food, or, I mean, I'll admit there's still the food addiction is the last stupid,
Yes.
because food is the weird one, because you don't need to jerk off.
No.
You don't need to you don't need to drink. You don't need to smoke. You don't need to do any of this stuff. All these influencers with their cigars and stuff. But you do need to eat. Now there are levels of anemia, but about 99.99999% of the people aren't there, and all the other breatharians end up being frauds.
Right.
But I saw it. I was out there on a mountain, and I was living fully alive with no food. And now it was only 10 days. And so I kind of put myself down, because I know about Jesus, Elijah, Moses, that went and did 40-day prana fasts. They don't even drink water, but that takes an extremely advanced level. But I've been able to go to the point where I can fast on water for 7 or 10 days and fully function without having any major detoxification reactions. That's because Dan McDonald has spent so much time on the physical body.
Yes.
But so that's good. So my colon, my muscles, and my kidneys, and my liver, it's pretty damn good because I've done a lot of fasting. But then there's these more subtle levels of the heart and the mind and mastery over these other things. And so food is the last little thing. And it's food is as gluttony, and then food as like salt and spices, know. And then everyone would be like, dude, I hate you, because I just 4 Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah, I just had a bag of Doritos and
and I haven't had like potato chips or a donut or cookies. I mean, I've had like a few raw cookies, but I don't even like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to get right with the sexual energy, which if you eat too much and too many spices,
you get all fired up.
Yeah, your testicles get irritated. The oils and whatnot in some of these garlic and onions, and that's why the yogis say. I mean, it's all a lot of truth to it from my experience. And so it's hard to be vulnerable there because you're supposed to be this master or whatever. But no, the mastery is coming, and we've got to stay focused. And the mastery comes from making mistakes. And there's this thing with the food thing, and that's it's like you hold yourself down to a certain level, and then trying to break through to mastery and get to any level of whether it's finances, relationships, health. We are standing in our own way because the infinite power and the divine intelligence is right there. You already are that.
Yes.
The question is can you allow that light, that inner light, to burn through all the dross and all the resistance and all the stuckness? And believe me, I know for sure it is not easy.
No.
But we have to stay vigilant, and we have to continue. And that's why, and then it's like, if that's happening, because you can be at a certain level and you're like, blah, 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 the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and the fifth dimensional grid lines and the bells and the gongs and the whistles while you flash your tits in my face. And you make some spiritual quote down below because you're just getting attention.
Right.
I'm talking about real spirituality, which can be ugly as hell and very, very difficult. Because when you start doing self-inquiry, your first impressions are not a pretty sight. You're like, oh my God, I'm greedy, I'm selfish, I'm an asshole, I'm half asleep all the time. Everything I do is a distraction. I'm afraid of this. And you start digging through your stuff. Now, I don't recommend anyone do it. I'm just saying that that's what's happening to this one, to look at everything. And I have a reason for myself, because I just feel like it's the responsibility of a person who's been exposed to this knowledge. The Buddha said it. What good does it do you if you don't act upon it?
Right.
And so acting upon this knowledge, now we're living in the information age. It's too damn much.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get my advice, stop with the information and start going into the inner light. Find out who you are. Yeah. I know it's because we got the scrolling, and that's an addiction, the scrolling.
That's absolute addiction.
And they set it up like that. So I saw that when I was out there. It was such a relief, actually, to not be scrolling. I had no phone or anything. And then, so all the different things that we do to avoid getting to, and now you're like, I still absorb a lot of information. Most of what I listen to most of the time are spiritual masters. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, that's like the high levels. Like, you don't need to do anything, there's just so many levels of consciousness happening at one time. And as you get more advanced, you're watching it. You're like, yes, there is a you. That's a man or a woman. Mm-hmm. And then if you're a man and you make those mistakes, you need to apologize. But at the same time, you're out doing a wilderness fast, and God shows you that I'm doing all this. You're not doing anything. Yeah. I'm doing all of this so that she wakes up, so that you wake up, so that consciousness becomes conscious of itself.
Yeah, totally.
So consciousness is becoming conscious, or awareness is becoming more aware of awareness. And so it's just, so what level are you operating at, and you have to see that there are just different stratospheres within your own self. And then where do you want to identify, all this stuff about identification and stuff. I mean, do you want to identify as the light of God? Because you can do that too. And no one could argue with you because you already are that.
Yeah, right.
But as a man, you made these mistakes, and there's that level that, and then thankfully, if you have a girlfriend that understands, you're like, well, I was in the woods and God told me that it's all happening on its own for both of our sakes, because I'm waking up, she's waking up, we're making new boundaries, and everyone's, being pushed to a higher level of community and power. But then there's also the level that says, I'm really sorry that I did this thing that really, really hurt you as a human being, as a woman, and I will never do that again. So on one level, you got to be a human and apologize. But on another level, you can see that, and that's the highest truth that's knowable, is that everything is happening of its own. Mm-hmm. And there is no you. There's no small you. There's only the one infinite self. So there's the capital S, which is the infinite absolute. Then there's the small s, which is the me. I like to identify with the big and try to go with that. I call it God. Mm-hmm. I realize some people have resistance to that because they've had God rammed down their throat as some anthropomorphic angry dude up in the sky that forgot to, he's hangry and forgot to take his medication, burn you up for all of your sins because you put your people in the wrong thing, or you do things that feel good. God's just sitting there. All the pleasures that you imbibe in, you're just screwing yourself. You're just robbing yourself of joy. One thing I've found for sure in a minimal way, and I hope to master this, is that denial leads to self-esteem and self-worth and self-mastery and a fullness. Mm-hmm. But all these little things that we do for the short-term dopamine, it just robs you of joy. So discipline actually leads to very much fulfillment and joy. So when Jesus said, empty yourself and be filled, the one thing you can most assuredly experience is through fasting, which is one of the most fascinating things. And I think the greatest tool and the miraculous tool that we have as human beings. And you would think that all the fasting that I've done, that I'd be enlightened. But I've learning, you get more and more aware of your fasting and distracting. And what you're trying to do is master just fasting and being. Yes. Instead of like I'm fasting on water, but I'm here, there, everywhere, scrolling this and that, all this stuff. And so the more that you fast and you sit there with what is, and you really dive into the pain and the discomfort and the EBGBs, I call it.
Yeah.
Now that's true with like, you're trying to get sober. Believe me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been wanting to say this. I'm going to go in this direction because that was another thing God told me in the wilderness is help all these drug addicts, and that's a hard thing because like you're looking at the dude who's like, I'll never be able to judge nobody because if you could smoke it or snort it or shoot it, I did it. And I'm so glad to be sober, and it's definitely the way, but I understand why we don't do that. In fact, so many of these addicts are God lovers. They're truth lovers, but they're looking at the world like mom and dad are miserable. And they're telling me mom and dad have millions of dollars. Dad's still chasing money. Mom's still buying more flipping furniture and more clothes. And they're trying to tell me I need to get on medication so I can be more like them. I'm getting high because they are miserable. And my worldview is misery. And so I get a little bit tooted on something.
Right.
And I get to experience God for a minute or 2 or 10. If it's crack, it's 5 minutes. If it's meth, it's a few hours. If it's weed, it's a couple hours. If it's cocaine, it's an hour or two. If it's alcohol, it's several hours. If it's food, it's a few minutes, whatever it is. If it's exercise, can be
right. Yeah, for sure.
Scrolling through the internet, trying to, you put up something, you put your titties on there and you get some likes and you get some dopamine out of that. But then these dudes, they don't have no respect, for you. And so the women that keep themselves covered and use their mind and their heart, those are the ones that are that I appreciate that very much. So.
Yeah, for sure. So, So, so the whole, the avoidance and I like to say like the escapism and the avoidance of doing the work. So when we talk about doing the work, and that's why I mentioned the inner child work, is because on the journey to, I mean, there's many words we can use, but I think everybody understands what it means to want to evolve and grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and that we're going in this direction. And so to not take the time to do the work, to do the hard work, to go through the fire, to come out the other side, to continue to be committed to removing the debris that was left behind from your childhood and those experiences, like, in your opinion, would you say that has to happen on the journey into, greater awareness, I guess? Because without the awareness of what's happened to you in your life to make you do and make the choices that you make, how can you grow from that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're going to have to find something that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Something that means something to you, like, hey, I want to get my finances squared away. Well, then you're going to have to work through all your money stuff.
Right.
You might leave the relationship stuff alone in your 20s and 30s. You might be like, I'm getting my finances, and that's your focus. And then you're like digging through all your financial blueprint programs.
Mm-hmm.
But then you are 37 and you're ready to get married, and now here comes that stack.
Right.
Oh my God, my parents were dysfunctional. I was abused, abandoned. I'm scared. It's you're in, you're out. You're attracting narcissists. I mean, whatever your vibrational is. I mean, suffice to say, what popped into my head is that as within, so without.
Right.
So work on your own inner relationship. I mean, like that's all I'm doing right now is trying to work this stuff out. But it's like the last few days have been absolutely brutal.
But would you be able to be working it out to the degree that you are without delving into those wounds of childhood?
That's the thing. I think that, well, it's aside from the wounds, which are the traumas.
Yep.
That then get responded to differently by everyone,
mm-hmm.
And so this little child, he didn't respond well to some of this stuff. And what he did was he took it, he didn't blame mom or dad and get jaded. He blames himself.
Right.
So there's like this demonic energy that's like, you are not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to let you succeed.
Right.
And so there's this huge light that's growing in my heart through all these processes of meditation, 23 years of live food,
Yeah.
an unbelievable amount of water fasting, more than anyone I've ever known, you know, and still there's this, so my heart, it's growing, but there's like this, it's almost like a cement brick sitting on top of it, and not able to express, to give and receive love fully, which is where your power comes from.
Right.
So love gets beat up in all of us. I mean, I loved my dad and my mom, but mom, where are you? I need nurturing. To this day, I'm like a 49 years young man, and all I want is my head rubbed. I mean, you want to be in a relationship with me? I'll buy everything. I'll pay the rent. I'll make you food. I'll rub your feet. Just give me a head rub for 15 or 20 minutes a day and tell me I'm okay, that I'm good enough, that you love me. And I'll do anything. That's all I want. What else do you want? It's like, I don't really need anything. I'm so independent.
Yeah.
I can entertain myself for a lifetime, but I can't get that external like head rub, which says you're okay. I love you.
Yeah.
You're a good
You're
little
worthy.
girl. You're worthy of love, and I love you. And I know that you've made some mistakes, and you're not perfect, you know? And so we're looking for that person or persons where we can truly be ourselves, because that's what love is, you know, where we can really be ourselves. Like, look, I'm whatever, this, that, and the other. Nobody's perfect. And as long as you're in the flesh suit, it doesn't matter how enlightened you are. If you stub your toe, it's going to hurt. If your dog gets ran over, it doesn't matter if you're Master Sai Baba or whatever, whatever your name is, Master Baba Booba. If your dog gets ran over, it hurts. If, you know, and if your son or your child dies, or when your mom dies, it just, you know, we are subject to certain laws while we're here in the flesh. And we know everything about out of body or near death experiences. You go into the light, you're like, there's Jesus. You're like, I definitely don't want to go back. And then Jesus is like, you got to go back. And you're like, you got to be kidding me, man. Let me keep going. It's like, everything's so light and free. And it's like, you got to go back because you got a mission to fulfill. And I'm like, well, tell me what the hell it is. And it's like, you'll figure it out. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, like, what's my purpose, you know? And I maybe I already know what it is, but it's like, I don't want to be just crammed into a little box. Like, Dan, you're going to teach people about lettuce for the rest of your life, and that's it. Because I'm like, okay, the food is only going to get you so far.
Yeah, totally.
Then you got to do, because that's what all the people that I see right now in the health movement is like, carnivore will solve all your problems. Raw vegan will solve all your problems. I'm like, well, 23 years later, I still got problems. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's like courage, faith, surrender, and most importantly, devotion.
Right.
You know, those, what should I eat? Well, that will come through devotion, through faith, through surrender, through consciousness, through meditation, through fasting.
Like, look after those things first, and the other will follow organically as you do that.
Well, don't let me take it away, because the focus on the physical body and health, it's amazing. Like now I'm like, and even my girlfriend was telling her brother, he's like, what's going on with Dan? You know? And she's like, well, it's cool, you know? And he's like, well, he better hurry up, because your clock is ticking, and, you know, you don't have forever. And he's how old now? And he's 50. And she goes, well, yeah, but Dan's got the body and the vitality and the virility of a 25-year-old, which is totally true, you know, because of all the stuff that I do, all the little secrets that I just stopped sharing. And I just did the same juice recipes over and over again, because that's where I was comfortable. I have a little tiny box, but I want to break out and help these dudes get their testosterone back and all the other things that are going on. Like, so, you know, thank God that I did do this, because I am, you know, even though I was like a junkie and everything, and I might not look like all the other raw vegans, I went through a lot of, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been a lot of stuff, like all kinds of my past. If I told you my past, it'd be like, oh my God, all the things that I did. It's like I've lived 10 lifetimes, you know, and then now with this raw food thing and the fasting, I've made a lot of progress, and I'm very grateful for that. But then eventually, if you really want real, true health, most of the carnivores, they're into the body. the vegans and the raw vegans and everybody, it's body, 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 body.
Yeah.
But there's no consciousness of the infinite spirit. They're all like, look at my body and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really have that. I don't really have the body. I don't really have the perfect skin or anything like that. All I have is the consciousness that is like, okay, you can go from being a junkie to being sober, because what you're really looking for is love and God and truth. And you looked at the world and you were like, this is horrific.
Yeah,
and
totally.
The drugs gave you a temporary taste of something that you knew there has to be more than this misery between mom and dad and school, and the teachers are miserable and the preachers are miserable and everyone, and you're this intuitive little being.
Yeah.
And you're like, these people are miserable, and they're telling me, they're trying to tell me what to do. And so then as soon as you get, I was started on drugs at an unbelievably young age. Mm-hmm. Like you wouldn't even believe it. Like I was 4 years old when I asked my dad for a toke.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So, and by the time I was 8 years old, I was stealing weed out of the drawer and rolling it up on the Bible papers, tearing pages out of the Bible and rolling up joints and selling them to my friends and smoking them in the woods. Yeah. So I started off a little rough, and then there's not only that, but in utero too, which is a huge thing. Like the mom,
absolutely.
The pharmaceuticals, the satanic shit that's going on, it's disgusting. And we're all like, okay, we'll just go on with that muffle blapping. Like, oh, we'll just do whatever you say.
No.
This is Satan. They know what they're doing. They're trying to shrink your testicles, make you dumb, and cut off your spiritual possibilities by blapping you with so much nasty garbage.
Yeah, they just want you numbed out with no opinion, no anything. They just want like everyone to be little robots and followers and do what you're told. And if you do what you're told, you get to go to the next square. And if you don't, you're F7 delete, you're out, you're ousted.
Yeah.
So what you just said, there's a few things in that I wanted to talk to you about. So I've heard you say that it doesn't matter how clean your colon is until you unpack the trauma in your life. A clean colon, going on a raw vegan diet. I get it. Like these are very important things, but you've also talked about a wheel. And my podcast, I like to talk about the whole. It's not just about the diet. It's not just about exercise. It's not just about one thing. It's all of these things together, and the emotional, spiritual, mental component of that, those spokes on the wheel, are just as important as the food that you're putting in your body, if not maybe even more at some point. So like, can you just kind of share a little bit about that piece? Because there is a lot of, especially in the raw food world, it's all about cleaning out your colon. And once you clean out your colon, you're going to be in the heaven with the angels, and no more, you're not going to have any more issues. But that's not the truth. You can clean out your colon, but like, just kind of unpack that a little bit for people that statement that you had said.
So a clean colon is great. A clean colon is a clearer mind.
Right. Honestly,
no one will ever know what it feels like to be truly clean until you've done a 40-day water fast.
Right.
That's not my ego trying to brag, but I'm just saying, like, after I did a 40-day water fast, I knew what clarity was. Mm-hmm. in an unbelievable way. Out of body, you're up on the ceiling looking down at yourself. The clarity and the conductivity of light is unbelievable. Juice fasting, it's never even come close.
Right.
So I don't mean to. Juice fasting is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I love it. I'm a liquidarian. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I did that 40-day water fast. My colon was clear. My mind was clear. And yet the issues, the deepest ossifications, I was getting to them. And that was 5 years ago. I was getting to those ossifications. I was getting to the original traumas. And then it was time to break the fast. And I've been living, I can't say in regret, but trying to get back to that, where I have a chance to dive into that stuff, which it's slow. I'm not saying that fasting's the only way, because I'm sitting here working through it face to face or even over the phone. I went to Europe. The biggest thing I've been going through to get through these childhood wounds and stuff is the relationship, because it's something that's finally worth it in my life. A person, it could be anything for you, but there's just something's going to trigger you that's going to make you want to work through this, whether it's, a lot of times it is relationships.
Right. Yeah.
But it could be, like I said, anything. Like the woman's like, or the man is like, I got to leave you. You're making my life intolerable. And then they're like, then maybe you get focused and you want to change, And so you're willing to finally look at the junk and the belief systems and the patterns that my understanding of it and experience is that it is extremely sophisticated mechanism of avoidance. It wants to bury it away.
Yeah.
And it wants to leave it there, and it does not want to go back there. And it will do anything and everything to convince you to not go back there ever. And but if you don't, you will never get free. You won't be able to love yourself. You won't be able to change your finances. You won't be able to change your relationship. You won't be able to change your health at the highest levels. Mm-hmm. So you got the physical health, which is one thing that leads up to the emotional health and the mental clarity, because the colon is definitely connected to the brain. And the food that we eat, the subtle energy vibrations go to the mind. The fiber is poop, the water is water, the minerals are the minerals, and the light is the light, and then the consciousness is the consciousness, and it's associated with all that, of course, with microbiology and the microbes breaking down certain types of things. Then their waste matter, the inner ecology of the waste matter of the microorganisms, depending on what you eat, they poop, or they have their exudates or their metabolic byproducts of metabolism. And then those microscopic, nanoscopic, and even more subtler than nanoscopic energy goes into the blood, which then goes into the brain. So the food is, we think calories and protein and macronutrients, and that's it. We're not thinking of the light. We're not thinking of the consciousness of the food, who prepared it, what kind of vibration were they in at the time. Mm-hmm. That's why you might go to a restaurant, eat some stuff, and then be like, man, I'm really horny. But it might, the chef, most chefs are cocained out, perverts, know, and so the energy of everything, and that becomes the energy of the consciousness of the mind. And if you don't understand that, then you might start taking things personally, or you might not have any mastery around that, where you do fasting, where you do cucumber juice fast, and your mind gets really clear because you're the one growing the cucumbers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And or what I do is I go to the coconut tree, and it's like nature, and then nobody touches the coconut except me.
Yes.
And I'm like, I hug the tree, I put my head on it, I thank it, I clean the tree.
There's an exchange there, an energetic exchange before that goes into your body.
And a purity, and coconuts are pure anyways, but then maybe the little monkey gets it and the guy doesn't really care, and then he touches it and then puts it in the basket, then it sits at the store. So that's a kind of an interesting little aside, is that if you can pluck and eat without anybody else touching your stuff, your food, that is going to be the closest connection. Not only that, you get the microbes on the outside. All the food emanates a frequency and attracts microbes. And then, of course, the dirt also. And that's why I like to take Shilajit or fulvic acid too, because I want those terahydrites and those molecules that are communication molecules, which I became a gut expert after they tried to kill me in the hospital. I got food poisoning at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and then the hospital almost tried to kill me. Then they want to pay me $30,000. They kept me there under guard and slammed me so full of antibiotics. It took me a couple of years. And then I had to figure out, okay, the microbiology and the regeneration of the gut is in the soil. It's in the air. It's in the water. I'm rolling around in mud. And I finally figured it out. Now I try to get as much dirt onto me, into me, around me. I'm going to go out today and go roll in the mud and spread mud on myself and put my knees and my feet in the mud, because when I hiked out of that mountain, with no food, it's taken a long time for I think they're finally recovered now, but I just wanted to go to the mud and rub mud on my bones, and that helps to straighten the bones and the muscles. But it's dirt. And so that's just, so I was going from the gut to the brain, then the brain and the thoughts there are going to be blocking or allowing the heart. And the love is the most important thing.
Right.
And I've always felt like a fraud because I was like, love this and love that. And I believe in it. Mm-hmm. I am devoted to it, but that doesn't mean, but why? Because that's what I need. That's what I never had. That's what I never experienced. And I want to learn how to give it to myself. And I've gotten better. I've gotten better at loving myself and being okay with myself, not being perfect and having challenges and things like that. And then, but it's like, do we want that love? We really want that love, and we want to do whatever the heck we got to do. And that's going to be, then you're not going to be judging other people for their diet and their frequency that they're on, because you see all the different stratospheres. If you're like a person like me and you're on live foods, you're just like, oh my God, thank God. Because, you really see that your body is a temple. But see, not everyone, like if you go, I don't mean to put anyone down, but it's not true, because I have friends that are, well, they're not carnivores anymore. I've talked to 1 million people, and 90% of my clients are not raw vegans. 95%. They're like, I'm so sorry, Dan. I just can't break the meat. And I'm like, relax. You're a nurse with a terrible schedule. Don't feel guilty about the meat.
Yeah, totally.
Eat it and be happy and understand that you're in a field of energy working with all these other people and like whatever, massage therapists and these nurses, and they're on call, and it's like they're apologizing to me, and I got to tell them, listen, when you eat the meat, be happy, be grateful, because I'm telling you, the food is more neutral than you realize.
Right.
The thoughts about the food are way more powerful than the food itself. That's why you got to pray and be conscious. Whatever it is you eat, it should be a celebration of life, whether it is a donut, an Oreo cookie, a steak, or an orange off the tree.
Yeah.
It needs to be, because the mind, according to the scale of consciousness, the food is basically neutral. It's like 200, but the mind is in the 400s. So that is logarithmically, exponentially more powerful. The thoughts about the food is way more powerful than the food itself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, though. What we're trying to do is be masters on every level, because some people will be like, I'm spiritual, give me the cheeseburger. And then you're like, well, you're 50 pounds overweight, you have diabetes.
Right.
And you can't climb a flight of stairs, and you're going to lose your feet. But then they're like a spiritual teacher, and you're kind of like, you should focus on your health.
Right. Exactly.
And because people are trying to express divinity through their diseased and mortal frame that's filled up with fermenting and putrefying waste matter. And so their brain isn't operating optimally. Yeah. And I'm not judging anyone, because I know how hard it is. Food addiction, society is the satanic underlords junking up our food, blapping our little kids with blappers and making us, and you got families, and so there's no room for judgment. I'm just saying, like, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to really focus a lot of time and attention, and I still struggle. So I understand, like, you got 3 kids, crazy ass husband, you're trying to lose weight, and they're like, Mom, we want chicken tenders and fish sticks, and we want to go to, fast food. Yeah. And the ultra processed junk. And it's like, you can do it. Anyone can do it, because we are infinitely powerful. You can fry up everything for your family and still eat the salad if you get into the habit and you make it a habit. But it's going to be a lot of work. But I'm just saying, like, I think what I like about my life is that I'm looking at the diet, very scrutinizing it. And it's a huge thing to me. To this day, I am more in love with this and getting this thing dialed in, because food has been the greatest addiction of all. Right. For this one, because of the dopamine and the brain centers and the childhood drug abuse and all of it, like, and growing up. So a lot of us, our brains are not that great, and we're really trying to develop. Meditation has been absolutely essential.
Yes.
And then learning discipline and writing it down, saying, I'm going to do this, because a lot of people, they'll water fast or they'll juice fast. And they don't have a plan, a solid plan. Like, I'm eating one meal at noon or something. Most people should eat like 2 meals a day, or like one good plan for the beginning stages of masters is like one juice and then one meal within like a 6 or 8 hour eating window, because, just eating too much.
Yeah.
Is going to
It's
bog us.
always getting stimulated. It's just a way to be stimulated,
That's right. Food is a stimulant until you just take the plain basic stuff. But even then, a sour sop, it's like, oh my God, this is so sour and sweet and juicy. I mean, but what we're trying to do is use food as a fuel. But I was just saying that we're working on the food thing, because that does have a profound effect.
Right.
And yet at the same time, you don't really try to be like, I'm the righteous one and all you losers, because that's stupid. No. And so it's crazy. It's like, yes, focus like a laser beam on your trip, but try to be accommodating and understanding for all the other people with all the other beliefs that they have and environments that they have and all the other contexts, infinite context. So there's no judgment. But so I'm saying, like, the food thing, get your body right, because your body is the temple of your spirit. But then what happens is like, hey, I'm buff, I got muscles, I'm in my 20s or my 30s, but then there's no spiritual development. So then you realize that your body is the temple of your spirit, and your spirit is the temple of God. And don't you want to be physically healthy and mentally clear and emotionally pure and spiritually illuminated, so that you can just look and be at peace and be love and be compassionate? I mean, I know these are buzzwords and they're so easy to say the words, but to truly embody them, if you're a real person and you really know yourself and you know that people aren't stupid, like, you'll attract a certain amount of people with your fakeness. Yeah. But then there's going to be people, and your realness, you might have an audience of 10, but you're real. Or you might have an audience of 1 million people, but they're like, oh, this is so entertaining. Look at him jump, or listen to the jokes he tells, or, oh, he's putting down Trump again. Cool. I hate Trump, and you've got millions and millions of followers, but what are you really doing as a service to help people? And I'm asking myself this question, like, because I don't believe that food is the be all end all. Although I got crammed into that box, and then I was like, okay, here, we're going to do another one. Get your blast today. I don't want to talk about what's really going on with relationships, all these dudes with their complacency. You guys are jerking off. Everyone's strung out on pharmaceutical drugs, rotting your brain out. And you're like, half of them have fluoride. And so people are lobotomized and they can't get sober. And it sucks. And a lot of my clients are like, well, I'm on this drug to counterbalance the side effects of that drug. And then I'm on this drug. And it's like, and what I had to do, and this isn't my medical advice, but I just go cold turkey. If it's heroin, cold turkey. You're sweating bullets. A few weeks later, you're like, oh my God, thank God. And I'm never going back to that again, because it's going to kill me. Yeah. The meth, that, same thing. Just this stuff is going to kill me, man. And so you're just like, and it just, as you're detoxing, it sucks. Weed, same thing. Weed only takes a few days, then a few weeks, then actually like a few months. Yeah. And then it's out of you. Alcohol, same thing. But the cravings are there. The friends, like, hey, bro, you're like sober for a little while. Come on, man. And you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll just take one hit, or I'll just have a couple beers, or one glass of wine won't hurt. And then the next thing you know, you're shit-faced drunk, and you're like, okay, I can't do this, And then so that's going to be something that came to me when I was out. I'm going to help people get sober, and it's going to help me stay sober. Right. 'Cause I've had a few relapses over the years too. Believe it or not, it's crazy. I take the Dr. Morse herbs. Yeah. 99% of the time I'm fine, but I've been drunk 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years on Dr. Morse's herbs. Because that old alcoholic in me struggling or whatever, and he's just like, oh, let me take my male formula, my lymphatic tincture, and my, I'll take like 3 or 4 at a time, a little shot, right? And that's all you need. But then that old alcoholic, he's like, you feel it.
It feels pretty good, yeah.
Have you ever drank?
Yum.
Okay, so it's like, and then you're like, well, then you take another one, and then pretty soon, like a couple of times, I've drank like 4 or 5 bottles of Dr. Morse's herbs and go over to my buddy's house. And it's going all right,
Yeah.
and they're like, the Liferegenerator is drunk. Holy crap! And they all loved me and stuff, and they thought it was
What?
hilarious.
He's drunk? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so like that was one thing. Now, most of the time, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
but so I understand, and I just want to, especially with the pharmaceutical drugs, like I might have my friends and they're on weed. They're like, listen, Dan, I'm not going to quit the weed, man. I'm a farmer out here and I'm happy.
Yeah, it's not happening.
But if you're not super stoked, but then again, I think still they're probably avoiding things too. And the hardest thing is what you keep alluding to in today's, podcast is just feeling your feelings.
Yes.
Because I have a joke. It's like, I ain't gonna feel my feelings. Hell no. You know what I'm saying? And that's what there's the desire to do it and be like, okay, if I don't feel these feelings, I'm never gonna get out of this mess.
Yeah.
Then there's the little tiny master that buried it away, and it finds every little excuse along the way to avoid going back there. And then you make then when you make it a conscious volitional intention, that little master is still a little ninja and can still make a million different excuses when you're meditating and it's uncomfortable, when you're fasting and it's extremely uncomfortable, when you are doing whatever to sit there and be with your crap. Like I'm taking 3 days off of social media and I'm going to go in my room and fast for 3 days and do nothing.
Yeah.
And then watch, because you need a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievably sophisticated. So this takes a lot of diligence, a lot of persistence, and you have to find something in your life that makes you want to break through and free yourself, because humanity en masse has been programmed, designed to not face this stuff. Everything. Here, drink this beer and you'll get 2 girls. Smoke these cigarettes and you'll have a 6-pack.
And it's by design. It's by design.
100%.
Absolutely by design. And, we have people now who have had the procedure,
Word.
Right. And not only that, but even, for in our age group where, we also had the procedure when we were not that one, but other ones, and all of this stuff has an effect from major more than, but people don't talk about that. And it's kind of one of those things that you kind of sweep under the rug and you don't really want to look at it. But I did want to just touch before moving on one thing that you had talked about, because I feel like it's time to move out of this external egoic sense of the look at me, look how I look. Everything's exterior forward. I was on a podcast yesterday and, I realized that in my journey, I made a lot of really shitty decisions based solely on how I wanted to look. I didn't care about anything else. How was I looking? What was my exterior like? And it's once you uncover and you unpack and you go through some of these hard emotions, you realize none of that matters. It doesn't matter. And it's very freeing to move past that and not care and look for simplicity in the food, simplicity in, like you said, sitting in nature, sitting, just with a book and a notepad, forget about bringing your phone, these types of things. And so I feel like in the community, in the raw food community, which is a lot of, people who are going to watch this are in that community, but it's still based on, well, what can the diet do for me, for my body? How's it going to make me look? And at the beginning of this podcast, I really wanted to talk about, let's get deeper than that. Like, this is very superficial stuff. And I'm like you, I kind of scratch my head and I'm like, are we still in that? Like, are we still like, is it ever going to stop? So
probably not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
But in us, it will, because we want peace.
Yeah. Because we're looking for that. Exactly.
And we're going to have to make peace with it. Dan, you're wrinkled. Yes, I am. I was a crackhead. Thank you very much. Like any wisdom? No, I don't want any wisdom. I've only based people on their skin.
Yes.
And if they have no wrinkles. If they have wrinkles, they're no good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Nobody thinks about this, but all the longevity experts are dead.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm.
They're all dead. Every
Yeah.
last one of them.
Or they're going to be dying.
They're all dead.
Yeah.
Every health advocate is dead.
Yeah.
They are dead, dead, dead. Did they live? Not a lot of them.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are we going to do?
Exactly. I mean, I go around, I'm traveling all over the world, man. It's like, I don't even know what the hell's in this crap. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Could I sit at home and be absolutely perfect in my diet? And I even know how to reverse aging massively. Sure. Mm-hmm. But God is like, there's things that are more important than that, my son.
Yeah.
And we're going to get you through it because we want you to share this wisdom to set hearts free. Because as long as you base it on your body, you're going to get fat or you're going to get skinny. Yeah. Your skin is going to sag. You're going to get wrinkled. You're going to go gray. You're going to ferment and putrefy from the inside out, and you are going to die.
Yes. And identifying with the body, when you're only identifying with the body, I mean, it's going to, like you said, you're not going to look like you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s forever. That's going to, so you need something else. And if you don't find something else, you're going to, in my opinion, you're going to have a very miserable existence, because that part of you will die before your final death, So it's developing the meditation skills, taking some time out. Like, it is a discipline and it is a practice to start moving in that direction. And so, like you said, maybe go for a walk every day, carve out an hour where you don't bring your phone and you just go and you be, and you're in the present moment and you're not thinking about, well, what do I have to do next? What do I have to call, when's my next post on Instagram? All of these things are just things that really in the end mean nothing. And they don't add to our evolution and our growth, which is why I think we're here. We're all here because we're here to grow. We're here to evolve.
And that's the only thing that leads to satisfaction.
Right.
There is believe me, I mean, I was on the internet for years. I guess I still sort of am, and I'll probably be back, hopefully a new and upgraded version. But, it's all that stuff is wonderful. But yeah, there's going to be it happens to everybody. And I've seen it within all of it, the how do you look thing. Yeah. And, I guess if I was prettier and looked younger, maybe I would have taken advantage of that. But I'm kind of glad that I'm 50 and I look 50, No. And then I don't have to, I don't get to, well, I mean, my body is more of my thing, but and when people look at my body, like, cause I was a major drug addict and everything else. So, and I never even could get this thing perfect anyways, and so God bless everyone and all that stuff for their thing. But my heart wants more. It needs more than the vanity, because the vanity and the ego of it has had so much stress that it stopped me from helping people with cancer and diabetes, all of which are brain dead simple. All these diseases are so simple that the world complicates it, but it's such a moneymaker. Yeah. And then people make it complicated. Now, simple, but not easy, because you have to change your habits. And the crab pot, you like, I got to get rid of this diabetes. And now you start eating some vegetables and exercising, and then your household, who's all a bunch of obese people, eating their fried chicken and their ultra processed foods, and now you're trying to drink some cucumber juice. They're trying to pull your ass back down in. Right. So you got to be strong. You got to be well able. You got to be determined. I mean, I was determined. My family was tripping for a couple of years. They're like, oh, but he's kind of getting it. It's like he's changing. And after a while, they finally accepted, okay, this dude is going to eat vegetables. He's going to soak the sunflower seeds, and he's having a sunflower burger every Thanksgiving, and we're just going to leave his ass alone. Yeah. And then finally they all bought juicers, and everybody lost weight, and they're still all alive. Yeah. And there's still a few gallbladders left because of the crazy videos of Dan the Man. But so that's sad that I think of it now, that just because I hate the camera. Yeah, I know. I hate the camera in my face, but today I'm doing a little bit better because I'm able just to admit, like, here's the grays, here's the wrinkles. And you know what? If you don't see the wisdom of a young man who has been grinding for truth.
Yeah.
I only care about the truth.
Yeah.
Now I love the living foods, and I am particularly fond of the juices and the fruits and the supplementation, because that's all just fun stuff.
Yeah.
And, a clean colon, and nothing better than a clean colon, and taking a big old dump every morning, or 2 or 3 throughout the day. If you really have super healthy health, and then you have energy and stamina, but you still got to do the work. And it's just, if you expose yourself to the highest levels of consciousness of the great masters of however that is, Jesus, Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Nisargadatta Maharaj, any of it, all of it, whatever your trip is, they're going to be coming at it from the highest. Right. And then what you do is just, hey, I'm going to take care of this body, but I'm not going to identify with it. But it's just fun. It's like this thing,
Yeah, right.
It might be part of your spiritual path, because you can learn a lot of discipline and self-love and self-mastery through the path of diet, but don't neglect, as I was saying, like, there's the physical body, then you have the mental body, then you have the emotional body, then you have the spiritual body, then you have the soul body. And I saw all of this out on a wilderness fast. And what I saw was that it is the soul body that's the most important body to cleanse and heal.
Right.
And that is coming from all the things that you do from below to above, but also you have to work from above to below. Yeah. So what's cool about my relationship with my girlfriend is that she, on her academy, she goes from the top to the bottom. And then by the time you're done with the academy, you know what to eat for your spiritual body. I'm the opposite. My path was the body to the spirit, you see? And so there's who's right, who's wrong? Nobody. It's like, now what you do is you do both. Right. You eat the best you can with what you got around you. And the more simple, the better. Yes. The more alive and fresh, the better. Yep. But there's so many different circumstances. You just do the best you can with what you got. And then if it's summer and fall, there's maybe a lot more. Spring, summer, fall.
Yeah, you take advantage.
You're like, listen, man, I'm freezing my ass off. I'm going to eat some soup. F you, Dan McDonald. You live in Hawaii. I'm like, eat the soup. Right. In fact, I have 20 recipes that I could share with you to minimally cook it and to make these amazing soups or whatever. Like, I'm a master cook food chef too. And that being said, like, I'm the kind of dude, this is my philosophy. Like, if you come to my house, you're my guest, and you want to eat a steak, I will go to the store, I will buy you a steak, I will ask you how you want it cooked, and I will cook it with love. Now, that is my own personal philosophy. Vegans can get their panties in a wad all they want, but I don't care. Yeah, right. Love is the most important thing. Food police is lame, and it only happens on the internet, because nobody has ever come to me in real life. In fact, everyone kisses my ass in real life, and then they put me down on the internet. Yeah, and I've seen all the people on the internet, blah, 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 and the perfect face, the perfect skin. Then you see them in real life, and you're like, oh my God, I know that's you, but it's definitely not you, because that person that I saw on the internet all these years is not what I'm seeing in front of you right now. Not with your skin, not with your energy, not with anything. Yeah. So that's why we got to get to this authenticity. And I did manage to keep a fair amount of that. But I've never had a hater in real life, never once. And that's why I'm like, 14 years later, I'm the one screwing myself. Right. Because I let the online haters, the anonymous nobodies who have no life, because I don't say stuff like that to people ever. I don't care what people eat. I don't care what they look like. I'm just not going to be like that. Yeah, yeah. But they're going to get you, and you have to be bold, and you have to be brave, and you have to do your purpose, because I have an amazing potential to help a lot of people, because they're making us gay with the chemicals. And everyone's like, why are we all going gay? Well, because of the goddamn food, also the crap in the air. And then they're offended, but that's their problem. They can be offended. The frogs, Alex Jones, 20 years ago, the frogs are gay. And everyone thought, you're crazy, Alex Jones. And now the science is coming out. The frogs are gay from the atrazine. Yeah. And the atrazine is on our food. And we've got these other chemicals. And we might want to shape up, or we're going to get shipped out. Oh, I don't want to offend anyone. That's a controversial topic. Grow a set of balls. We need to have this conversation yesterday. Our kids are getting retarded. Our teeth, our brains, our reproductive organs, our glands, we are getting to the point where we're not going to be able to reproduce if someone doesn't have the balls to stand up and say, the reason why your testicles are shrinking is because you're eating that processed food that has massive amounts of all these thousands and thousands of different chemicals. And my friend, it is not an accident.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's by design.
The doctors are clueless.
Yeah.
Maybe the people that are selling the food, the restaurateurs, they're all clueless about the processed food. But the underlords, the chemical producers, the chemical military industrial complex, when they blap that into your baby when they're born, they know. Mm-hmm. And when they put that crap on your food, they know. And when they're spraying that crap in the sky, they know. And when they're putting that crap in the fluoride water, making you into a retard, and your pineal gland, and I don't care about the word, I mean that as a technical term if you're offended. And let's not worry about offending people. Let's offend them so that they can get pissed off and get off their ass for 1 second and actually face what the hell is going on, because otherwise we're going to be buried by a satanic cult that wants to eat your children and do other unnameable things to them, which is finally coming out. And you got the mainstream media, oh, it's QAnon. Mm-hmm. No, there is the trafficking, and our government is involved, and the satanic cult is involved, and we really need to wake up to that. Because now, I don't mean to go off on that, and I don't spend too much time on that anymore.
But I think it's important to put it out there. I mean, these are, again, this goes back to, this is the truth. This is the truth. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people to hear it. And a lot of people put their, they put their hands up to their ears. But look, I mean, that's the direction. And you have to have the awareness if you are going to make change, or if you value your life, and you value your children's lives, and, it goes on and on. You need to know. And this is the thing. Nobody wants to talk about this. And that's the problem.
And I'll tell you this, I am so grateful, because why? That's why my balls are still full of power.
Yeah,
and my girlfriend knows, she's 38, I'm 49. And her brother's like, well, he's not going to be able to have kids. And she's like, oh, no.
No, that's not how it's going to be happening.
It's wheatgrass. He takes bee pollen, pine pollen. He takes male formula from Dr. Morse. He eats the living foods. He drinks the living juice. He focuses on minerals. So he'll be reproduce until he's 90, 95 years old. So she had to, and she's like, my brother's younger than you are, but he's got an old body. You see? So I don't mind getting a little angry and bringing that up, because all my clients, they're like, well, I'm on these drugs and I can't really function without them. And, and it's so sad. And I'm just like, I'm just so grateful that it happened to me on accident years ago. My parents bought me a juicer 30 years ago. And then I was like, carrot juice. Then I found these books. Oh, Sherry Calbaum and Norman Walker and Jay the Juice Man. And I read these books like Go Organic. And then I started reading about all the pesticides. I went organic, I don't even know, 25, 26, 27 years ago. And I was like, and I went whole foods. So, and I'm not saying I've been perfect, because everybody knows I had the Reese's peanut butter cups and I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. I ain't been perfect. I don't even want to put that across. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had hella snap.
But you started with the foundation, started at that time.
Whole foods. I've been on Whole Foods, 99.9% Whole Foods for almost 30 years. Can you imagine what that does for you? Even though, I still had a lot going on with the drugs and all kinds of stuff, but it made sense. And then I was like organic, and I was like, then it was like the stuff that you put on your skin. And then it was just like, finally, then I'm like, all these chemicals and stuff. Then I was finding out about the blappers that they blap everyone up with.
Yeah.
Then because I had kids, and I was like, I read a few books on what are these blappers? What are these infusions? And I was trying to tell my ex-wife, don't do it.
Yeah.
These things are bad. I knew. So for 25 years, I've known about, and then everyone's like, no, it's really real, polio and stuff like that. I'm like, you need to get an education. You trust the government. You ain't never read a history book in your life.
Yeah.
Not everyone's running on all 8 cylinders. I'm a rebel. I'm like, I came out with my middle fingers up. Like, I ain't listening to you. You're lying to me. I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. And thank God, because I have been scrutinizing it, and I'm glad, because, no one can avoid all the chemicals, but with the proper education, you can avoid 80 to 90% of them in your food with those direct exposures. And then you don't go to the hospital and let them blap you up with anything. And then when they have these pandemics, you can be like, oh, no, thank you.
No.
No. And then you can protect yourself because you're aware of the detrimental effects of synthetic substances that are inimical to all your biological functions. So if you want to be sterile and brain damaged and have endocrinology problems, and you want to have diabetes, and you want to be obese, and you want to be sick, and you want to have nervous system disorders, by all means, be my guest. Eat the processed foods, be exposed to massive amounts of pesticides, go to your doctor, take all the drugs he prescribes, and good luck. You will be a client of mine in the future. I don't even charge that much to help you. And usually I can get people straightened out in 1 or 2 or 3 consults. Get them on the path to awakening of, and it's never about the food. It's never about the food. Because the reason why the food is that's why it's not that important. It's super important if you're me. And it's super important if you're you, if it's important to you and you really want to be your level best. But the food choices are a side effect of these other issues.
Absolutely.
Like, listen, I'm not going to feel this. Give me the burger. Okay. You know,
I just want to numb out.
And so we are numbed out, strung out, because there's a lot of chemicals in there that your neurons get addicted to the flavor chemicals. And then when you go to eat like a papaya, you're like, shouldn't I put some salt and cayenne and some MSG on this papaya? You're like, no, just fast for a few days and reset your appestat. And then you'll enjoy the flavors of spinach, you know, depending upon your gut microbiology and all that stuff. But so that's why I get a little bit bent out of shape, because the drugs, the chemicals, and I absolutely detest their conscious volitional injection, pun intended, of these chemicals into our society. Billions and billions of pounds of chemicals, knowing through underground laboratory research that makes the frogs and the rats and the monkeys go gay. Why is all this stuff going on? But it's all Marxism, communism, easy to see,
world domination.
They're not going to succeed. It's their last grasp at maintaining the power structure. The internet blew everything up, and then everyone's like, mercury. What does mercury do? So you're saying so mercury is a toxic poison, but if it's in a nice little package and it's given by a dude in a white lab coat, then it's okay. People started putting 2 and 2 together. And so the information, but they're really doing a great job by taking dudes like me and boom, 375,000 subscribers gone, your income down to 1/3. Now me like being sort of depressed about that and also struggling with this crap about how do you look? It's like, you can't share knowledge and wisdom and help people to not be retarded. I use that word because it's what happened. The brain damage, the drug addictions, look, recreational drugs. But that being said, China sending all the raw materials to the cartels in Mexico, and then our government, come on in, bring in thousands of pounds. I work for China, and we got to wake up. I hope we wake up. There was a really good thing going. The border was sealed. We had a lot of good stuff going, and then it was fraud, and that you're not allowed to talk about the fraud. You're not allowed to talk about the liars. You're not allowed to talk about the fake checkers, and it's all communism. And it's free speech being suppressed, but we still need to, through code or whatever, or alternative websites, pass the knowledge still yet so that people can get sober and clean and detoxify those chemicals and get their reproductive organs working again, get their brains working again, get their hearts working again. And this is not going to be easy, but it can be done. I've done it to a certain degree, and the more you wake up, the more you want it. The more you want to juice fast, the more you want to get to bed on time, the more you want to do some fasting and detoxing and take these supplements and saturate, the more you're like, the government wants to take away.
Simplify.
simplification is it. Mono meals is really the way to mental clarity. But if the government wants to shrink up my balls, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to grow those suckers, and I'm going to dangle them in their face and say, look at these full of power. You have nothing. You are weak. I know how to eat the pine pollen, the bee pollen. I know how to take these herbs, and I know how to use all this so that I am growing in testicular fortitude while these other babies are being born with all this confusion and shrunken testicles and shrunken penises and shrunken vaginas and shrunken ovaries. And it sucks. And it's a volitional, intentional thing that Satan is doing. And the only reason I get all bent out of shape and all on fire about it is because I don't dig Satan and the lies and the cheating. I want everyone to be free in the truth and the light of God. And that is what my purpose is and my mission. So that's why I get all crazy.
Yeah. And that's the passion, that's the passion of it, and I feel like for most of us, we've been groomed for a very long time. I mean, and you need to question, you need self-inquiry, you need to question authority, you need to question every single thing. You have to have that fortitude to question. My 3 kids, they're in their 20s now, but I didn't vaccinate any of my kids when they were like, no, said the V word. It's okay. I mean, the procedure. They didn't have the procedure. So, it's, and the pushback that you get from making these decisions that go against the society's norm can make people feel so incredibly uncomfortable, like they're doing something wrong. It puts people into a cycle of feeling guilt and shame. And it's just, but you have to, that's why I said, like, this topic is so important. We have to talk about it,
I'm the opposite. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
I would be an ignorant idiot like you, because you are going to kill yourself and your whole family, and you're going to drop. You're going to drop like a fly, and you're going to be like, what happened? It's a mystery. No, it isn't. It's basic, simple, plain common sense that any 2-year-old could figure out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you just have to get your mind working.
Hmm?
We hope so. I hope so. I hope that people are offended. Right? Exactly. And that's the point. It's just taking, making some decisions, not following people, be a leader of your life, take control of your own life. And I love what you said about the food piece, because yes, it is important, but it's not what's most important. Until you get your mind right, nothing else is going to be right.
They're all equally as important.
Exactly.
And like you said, the example of the wheel. Like, if one spoke is longer than the other, what's going to happen? If one spoke is longer than the other, or one spoke is shorter than the other, or what if one is really long and you're just focused on that, and then another one is a little bit longer? You're going to be in a jalopy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you get all the pillars of health equal in your life, you'll have a smooth wheel. All the spokes are the same. Eating, sleeping, meditation, self-inquiry,
sunshine,
service,
meditation,
sunshine. Those are the you've got the laws of the mother, and then you've got the law of the father. And so you want to have that balanced as well. So we have the physical laws of the earthly mother.
Yes.
But we also have the law of the Heavenly Father, which is, there's only one authority. And we've all made the mistake of putting our faith in these worldly authorities. But you have inside of you the greatest guru, the master guru of all gurus, with all the answers to everything you could ever inquire about, is already in you right now. You have access. It's free, and it wants to talk to you now. But in order for God to love you fully, you've got to love God fully. In order for God to talk to you, you got to talk to God.
Yeah.
So if you want God to open up, you got to open up. And so where is that inner guru? Where is that inner intelligence? Well, it's all around us. And we're swimming in that ocean of divine consciousness, but you will find it chiefly in yourself. And that's, here I am 49 and supposed to be this spiritual person, and I'm barely just starting to figure that out. I like to get ideas and stuff, but I just stopped watching a lot of stuff. If I need to learn about like finances and business, I'll look on some stuff. If I need to learn about twin flame, divine union, I'll get some information about that. Like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do more so now is that's why I just spent the whole day in here by myself. Didn't see anyone, didn't do anything. I'm just like, and then I did do a lot of scrolling yesterday, and I'm like, I got to chill out on that. Mm-hmm. So there's either you go out into nature by yourself and you walk barefoot if you can, and you just by yourself. Mm-hmm. And you just tap in, and it's like a walking meditation. That's a really good one, especially if you're going through emotional stuff, because walking and breathing can help to balance everything. Mm-hmm. And then there's just, like instead of looking on the internet, like what should I eat? What do I want to do with my life? What is my purpose? How much should I exercise? You start actually asking yourself, and you can go into these meditative states and lay on the grass or lay on your lawn chair or lay on your bed or sit on your favorite easy chair and just kind of tap in and just ask questions to yourself. You might want to have a journal there, but the more aware you become, the more intentional you become, the more that voice will speak to you and guide you. And that is your own inner guru. We all look outside for the gurus. I love the gurus, man, because they reminded me that I'm not crazy to love God, and that God is love. And that there is something beyond just, hey, I'm pretty. Look at my tits or look at my perfect skin. I'm a raw vegan. It's like, well, the living foods is a totally different thing to me. Like I don't mind looking okay. And the better I look, then the better I eat and the better I look, the clearer my eyes are. That's all great. But don't displace that for your soul's journey, and don't judge yourself either and cause more stress. And so, we're grateful. And I think those people that look really great are great.
Yeah, for sure.
But sometimes some of them make it seem like that's all they got. Mm-hmm. And if that's all you got is your looks and your youth, you better be careful, because later on you might get crushed. And I'm trying to, I rode that ride.
Yeah.
Sexiest raw food guy and all that good stuff way back in the day. And getting older is not that easy, especially in this society.
No, it's
but
not
there
at all.
is wisdom if someone is actually paying attention, and then you can actually, find a way to find more peace, to find more harmony, to have a better relationship, to make more money, to manage it better, but also mostly just to find peace and ease and a sense of, inner stability. As you get older, that's one thing that happens as you get older. You get a little calmer.
Yeah.
Things don't stress you out as much. You're like, okay, I've been here before. It's just another day. Today sucks, but tomorrow's going to be different.
There's less reactivity, there's less of that initial reactivity, I think. And there's more inquiry into why things happen, things that may have triggered you before where you would react. Now you are able to ask the question, well, why is that triggering me? Why am I feeling like that? It comes back to that self-inquiry piece of like asking the questions and then learning from that, rather than just react and having that knee-jerk kind of reaction. I think as you get older, you're able to just kind of settle in a little bit more and realize that triggers are there to teach us. We can trust the triggers to teach rather
you're
than
looking for your own involvement instead of blaming, my husband or whatever.
Well, it's no more projection. There's no more projection onto others. You're responsible for we're all responsible for our own reactions. We're all responsible for ourselves. So it allows you to take responsibility, and then that need to blame, be the victim, project. I mean, I know, that comes up. It will come up, I'm sure. It's just, part of the human condition where that happens, but it's less and less the more you practice it. One thing just on this topic, I kind of wanted to just really talk a little bit about the whole self-love piece, because that's a topic that many people struggle with. And I think it's tough for all of us because we leave the one and there's that sense of separation. And we come into the body feeling that separation. And so it's kind of like falling from unity in a sense. And so I feel like it is by design, but how to hone in, it's all a process. I'm still working on it. Every day is like, it's just one day at a time for the self-love piece. Because I'm like you. I have had, a fairly rough past, and I had all those wounds, abandonment, rejection, not feeling loved. I've got mommy and daddy wounds, all of it. But trying to like not get to self-love really is like, oh, there's a destination, but a practice every day. Like, how are you, what are some things that you're doing to really develop that self-love piece daily?
Well, as this relationship experience that I had,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a relationship. It was like, I was like, and then when I almost lost the relationship because of
Yeah.
the complacency, I had to really start examining all of this stuff. And I
Right.
did learn along the way. This is all very recent. I've been on a major crash course,
Right.
but I really had to self parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to just tell the little dude inside, it's okay, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to abandon you.
Right.
I love you. You're a good person, you know. And so I've been doing some of that. I don't have like a daily practice, but, I actually might want to consider that.
Right.
Uh, what I've noticed is that somewhere along the lines, I got some really dark energy that's
Mm-hmm.
very critical, very judgmental. It's almost demonic.
Right.
And I think that's the cement slab sitting on top of all this light that's being cultivated
Right.
through all these practices and through this relationship and just life, like cultivating love and devotion for God. I mean, I've been cultivating devotion for a long time. I really want to have a devoted heart,
Yeah.
to God and the truth. But I see this evil entity and it's like, you're not worthy. You're not good enough. I'm never going to let you succeed. And it's a real dark thing. And I
Yeah.
don't know where that came from, but except for maybe it was the little child's way of responding to abandonment and abuse
Right.
and a lack of nurturing, a lack of presence. That's what a child really wants
Yes.
is they want the presence
Mm-hmm.
of their parents.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, it can just really build into this
Yeah.
darkness. I don't know what other people feel, but I see that quite a bit. It gets really frustrated because it's trying to figure out, how can I break free from this? How can I get my heart to open? How can I start making better choices? Why
Yeah.
do I keep doing this to myself? Why can't I grow my financial blueprint? Like why is this holding me back from having this thriving relationship, which actually it's working itself out really, really well.
Yeah.
And if all this crap didn't happen, I wouldn't get to be the better man that I
Right.
am today. So I'm grateful on the big picture because it really is working itself out. And I'm really changing and I'm really beginning to understand how to have a good relationship
Yeah.
and what that takes. And I want that, because this person is super special. So that's been the biggest part of my evolution is that, like, a woman that I love, a
Yeah.
woman that a man loves. Otherwise, I will admit, I've been Peter Pan,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Single, Mr. I have a backpack. I could be moved out of here in one day, out of
Yeah.
this apartment. I could be moved out of here in 4 hours, have everything back in the storage, and be on a plane tonight or tomorrow morning to anywhere I want in the world.
Right.
So I'm Mr. Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And now that was what got me into trouble, lacking responsibility and lacking
Like always running
commitment.
away.
Basically, yeah, like I could always run away.
Yeah.
Now and I'm accused of that. Now, yes, I ran away from my ex-wife and she's pissed about that, but that was
Mm-hmm.
25 years ago and she's still pissed. And
Yeah.
then I went there to visit her and I saw, no offense, she's a great person,
Mm-hmm.
but like whatever whatever your programs are, I don't like them
Right.
because I'm actually a good guy and I was real decent and I did the best I could and it was good enough. And I had to realize that. And I'm like, you did good enough considering the circumstances, So, but I've been able to to run. And a man that's committed with a family and marriage, he doesn't get to do that. He's got to sit there and work through it, so I'm in this relationship and I've got to sit here and work through all of this. And she's the first person or thing in my life. I hate to say that my kids weren't, but I really did my best. But it's like, I ended up in jail a couple of times just from yelling.
Yeah.
Because I never hurt anyone, but I was pissed about a few things. Like, God dang it, how can you let this happen? You know? But and then it was just fighting. And that's just not my thing. I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. It's just, I can accept people for where they are, but people have a hard time accepting me for where I am because they're like, I want to control you. And it's like, oh, good luck. You'd be the first person because nobody's going to control me.
Yeah.
Now, if I choose to be in a committed relationship with a woman that I love, that's me making the conscious decision. Right. But we live in a world where the government, the schools, the preachers, they're all, everybody, your parents, everybody wants to control your ass.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm just one of these free spirits. It's like, you ain't going to control me. Yeah. So I needed to be ready to hop, step, and jump, you know? And so I've lived that way as a Peter Pan. Now I want to grow up and be responsible. It's like 49 years young, and it's never too late to grow up and be a good, it's never too late to become a good man for a good woman, whether you want to raise a family or not, you know, but it's just for all you young men or whatever, it's just never too late. It's time to start now becoming a good man, and don't settle for just a little bit of sex. Wait until there's a woman that's worthy of your time and attention. Same thing with the women. Don't just sleep with the guy after the third date because he says a lot of stuff. Make him earn your trust. Yeah. And then that'll make him a better man. And it'll make you, because the woman, you make love to a man with some guy that 3 months later you find out he's an asswad. And now you've got all these cords and you're tied to him emotionally and he's a jerk. Yeah. Because you should have waited those 3 or 6 months and tested this dude to see if he's a dick or if he's not, you know? And then, so we all have to raise our standards in relationships, finances, our diets, everything. You know, we just need to raise our standards, especially in relationships. But I want to help these young men to not make the same mistakes that I made, and then to preserve your seminal fluid. Yes. And don't be jerking off every day, because then you'll never have the motivation to grow and evolve so that you can attract an awesome woman who's going to be a great helpmate and a great partner and a good friend. So you can get old and gray and ugly together and still be road dogs, homies, because the bumpy is going to wear off. You know, that's all when you're young and then you're little rabbits. But later on, you better have something in common. Yes. And you better be homies, want to be tight and have another vision of like, hey, let's grow a garden, or let's like write a children's book together, or, you know, you got to. So we're trying to evolve. That's all I'm trying to do. And I know I have this little thing. I'm quite a bit of a character and stuff, but it's like the offended thing, you know, it's just get offended. I don't get offended. I do get angry when people expect me to fall for this crap. Listen, I'm not falling for it. Yeah, right. I know who the World Economic Forum is. I know who the New World Order is. Yeah. I know who's trying to poison me. I know why. I know how long they've been doing it. I saw all the documentaries. There's no reason to go into it, but listen, you can poison yourself all you want. Yeah. But don't get mad at me, because I'm not going to poison myself, because I'm educated and I read history books and I'm interested in the truth and I love knowledge and I apply that knowledge. Yeah. So I get a little excited. I like to apply the knowledge. Like, I want to preserve myself because I'm hella slow and I want to break through this stuff as much as I can and get as far as I can in this life before I leave. So I'm trying to have like all the longevity experts are dead. So I don't sit around paranoid trying to live forever. You know what I mean? Right. That's not my thing. I'm just trying to live right and live good and succeed in the purpose of life, which is self-realization, enlightenment, transcendence, illumination, or just the kingdom of heaven within you, the realization of the kingdom of heaven within you, to become and allow for the true core essence, which is the peace and love of God. Yeah, right. To manifest itself in you for the all in all. So that's a big fancy way of saying to just allow your potential to arise, because as soon as you become enlightened at level 600, then you're going to start working on level 700. Okay. Then you're going to start working on level 850. Right. Then you're going to go from the nothingness to 855 to the allness. Then you're going to go all the way to avatar. And then you're going to start thinking about archangel status. Yeah, so it's going to go on forever. But we want to find that, and we want our potential to arise, and we should be working for it all day, every day, from birth until death.
No, I
And
agree
not
with you
judging
100%.
others and loving ourselves through the process instead of having fear being a motivating factor, which is a good motivating factor if that's all that you've got.
Right.
But a lot of it's fear of aging and fear of this and fear of that. And that's where we make our decisions out of. It's more of a love of life. It's more of a devotion to truth. And then instead of being pushed by fear, we're being pulled by love.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. And just being able to like relax and surrender into that. Like just surrender. Surrender. That's the word. That's my word for this year is surrender. Just surrender. You know,
that is hard, isn't it?
It is very hard because, you know, you have to realize and know that when things come up, when things get, you know, triggered in you, that's the opportunity. That's the work. That's when you just kind of be like, okay, this is happening and it's okay, you know? But yeah, because when we're used to reacting and we want to find an answer and we want to know why and we don't trust, and it creates so much stress in the body. But when you can learn to just surrender to things that come up, there's a relaxation that happens, you know? And again, I think that comes with age too, right?
When I'm talking about the context of surrender, I'm talking about surrendering to God. And so sometimes, you know, don't let me mitigate your
for sure.
But like surrendering like the bull crap, that's kind of easy, but surrendering your life to God.
That's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean.
Yeah, okay. You're just like, well, what if I just end up being a bump on a log? Well, okay, then that's what God will have you do.
Yeah,
but
yes, exactly.
as you surrender, there's a likelihood that you'll still be doing the same exact thing. You'll just be doing it in a state of surrender.
Yes.
Or surrendering outcomes. Mm-hmm. You're doing the work, and it's easier said than done. To, hey, I'm going to serve humanity, and then whatever finances come, so be it. You know, and probably if you serve humanity and you focus on a valuable, useful product or service, the money will come. And I feel terrible. What happened to me was that I was doing the Liferegenerator thing. We didn't make any money for the first 2 years, but then, well, that's not true. We made a microscopic amount, but you know, Krista was like, "Hey, give me these videos." So the whole thing, I went from this raw food guy living in the woods and stuff, and Krista was like, "Give me a video, make a video every day, and give it to me. We can make some money at this thing." And so the whole premise. Where and in the beginning, I was just the guy who all I had to do was make the videos,
right,
and then give it to Krista, and she did all this cool Google AdSense stuff and Google search words, and then we just blew up. Liferegenerator just blew up. But then when we broke up, then I had to figure out how to keep the money rolling in.
Right.
I didn't really know how to do that, and then I've been focused on the money first, and then I lost my love. And I think that people saw that and sensed that. And I'm trying to get back to my original plan of living foods, fasting for the conductivity and the illumination of the physical organism and the human spirit so that the soul can express itself through the ways of light.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
My purpose is the light of God. You know, my purpose is the light of God. And that might mean like, hey, don't take your kids to the doctor for their well baby visits.
Right. Yeah.
And other part of that is like, hey, you know, mono fruit meals, when cherries are in season, there's nothing better than to purify your blood than just a pound of cherries or two. Yeah. You know? And then,
I did that yesterday. I just ate a bag of cherries.
Then there's the other part of the light of God that says, hey, meditation is one of the single greatest things that I've ever done. Yeah. Number 2, you know, all living organisms on planet Earth eat living foods, you know, and then fasting is the only thing I've ever found that really, truly works, you know, that really ever actually gets the energy to actually move. Yeah. Meditation harmonizes the bodies. Fasting cleanses them, the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and soul bodies. And so then you can have this pure soul. And you can have this pure spirit, and you can have a pure mind, which, of course, you know, if you're a guy and you grew up in this society and you got all this stuff on Instagram, the internet was built on porn,
Yeah, right.
And we have all these images, and it's like porn will ruin you, masturbation will ruin you, drugs will ruin you, pharmaceutical drugs, and so I'm just like trying to just do that in a way, and I'm a little rough, but I like I said, many times I'm a yogi gangster for Christ. I believe in Jesus, but I also do yoga. I don't believe that yoga is satanic and the poses are the devil. I don't believe in any of that at all. Yoga means union. And Jesus said, I and my Father are one, and ye shall do greater things. So you are also a son of God, but you have to know that yourself. You can't just be like, I'm a lowly sinner. I'm a piece of crap,
Yeah, right.
You put other people on a pedestal when you should put your own infinite spirit on a pedestal, because you already are that right now. And so there's all these different things that this dude is interested in, that's helped him.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to share that, while simultaneously I'm sort of looking for like a niche market so that I can provide for my future wife and potentially children. And so I'm a little stressed out, but I want to try to come at it from a pure heart, because I could, believe me, I could sit and meditate all day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Easily. But there's another side of me that also wants to provide for this amazing woman, which I sort of failed to do before. And I made the environment unsafe and unstable because of my Peter Pan and my running and everything else of my childhood crap, fears of intimacy, fears of commitment, a fear of love. Love hurts, Here's this guy that you're looking to for your source of love, but he's punching you, and he's beating you. So it's like, I am scared of love.
We get trauma bonded as children,
Word.
Right. So I guess really for you now, like stepping into this kind of almost sounds like a new version of yourself, is really letting go of that inner child, that little boy, allowing him to run the show and run your life, and stepping into your man, the man that you are. And he still lives there, the little boy Dan, he still lives there, but he's not calling the shots. And so reckoning that and kind of flipping it over on its head, and now you're making the decisions as the man, is allowing for this new kind of, this new version to really start taking place for you.
That's an interesting thing that you said, because I was talking to my girlfriend, and when I went out to do the wilderness fast, I told her that because the little boy was the CEO at the head of the desk.
Yeah.
And now when I went and did that wilderness fast, it allowed me to process all the guilt and the shame. I called it the bundle of sorrow.
Yeah.
When I was out there, it allowed me to process that came out of the fear of the little boy who made those decisions, who ran, who abandoned, who did other things that wasn't cool to hurt my person. And I went to the wilderness and I did a 10-day wilderness fast, and the 7 days purified that. Then what happened is the little boy he's still on the board of directors.
Yeah.
But the grown man is now the one making the conscious choice to be in a conscious, committed relationship and work through whatever I have to. So now, because I see the little baby, then I feel like we all kind of have this. There's the little baby, those experiences. Then there's the little boy. Then there's the young man, like, oh, boobies, Then there's the grown man, which is like, hey, this is a good woman. Then there's the sage that's like, this woman is divine and she can guide me all the way to the promised land. So I feel I don't, I wouldn't say that we all have that. There's no hard and fast rules, but that's how I identify. And I'm what I think that I've been trying to do is get everybody on board here. In alignment and harmonize, so that the little baby, that the woman is like, oh, that she gives you a head rub, because that's what the little baby needed. Then the little boy who's afraid and that got abused, she sees that too and understands that. And it's like, hey, can we talk about this? Like, this is coming up for me. And then the young man is like, hey, can we can I give you a massage? And can I
Yeah.
massage your ass? You know, you're so beautiful. I love your breasts. And I love the way you smell. And I want to kiss your lips. Will you do that thing that you do down there? You know?
Yeah.
And then there's the grown man that's like, hey, this woman is worth investing in. She inspires me. You know, she's beautiful. She's been so patient and so courageous and so forgiving. It's like impossible.
I mean,
And
it's
then
everything that you've ever wanted, you know, that you've been calling in for so long. And yet for so long, there was that rejection piece because of the fear of it. But like now being in a place where you can look at the little boy and really quell him through the man that you are and say, you know what, I got this now. You can take a seat and I've got you, and kind of start calming him down through your thoughts and through your words, and allowing the nervous system to just relax, you know, because I feel like a lot of the inner child stuff kind of resides right in our nervous system. And then just giving him permission to finally take an exhale and just allow the man to make the decisions, and know that you've always got him. You're always looking out for him, and you'll never let him go, and that you love him, and that he's always going to be cared for, and he is worthy, and he is lovable, and he's never going to be abandoned. And once that starts to set in, and that, I mean, that is a practice, but once you start to actually, when the man starts to believe that, then I feel like real change can happen. You know, it kind of sets the foundation for some real change.
That's what we all need to do.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, you hardly hear anyone that had, I mean, some people had better, but your parents, they were not enlightened sages.
No.
So they couldn't see every angle. And there's certain things that you might be, you know, struggling with as a human being. And nurturing that self-love. And that's one, I mean, you got to have that. Like, we have to love ourselves, you know, and that's probably the hardest journey of all, is really learn to love and accept yourself as you age, as you make mistakes, as you go back and you go, I cannot go back and fix this. You know, I have to accept it. And so I that's been something that I've been doing, is really embracing that and understanding it. And the nervous system, you're right. I mean, these things, they don't change overnight. It doesn't seem anyways. Maybe there are massive cataclysmic breakthroughs, but for my experience is that it's slow and steady. It's almost like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And if you, on the step back, if you get too bummed out about that and too critical and judgmental, you kind of have to understand that the step back or the snap back is a stepping stone. To be able to realize what you need to step into to continue to move forward. So the mistakes, like, especially for men, but it's probably true for women too, but men learn through making mistakes. And it depends on how we contextualize that mistake. Do we allow it to drive us forward, or does it force us deeper into the turtle shell? And I've had a real mixed bag of both, but I am determined and persistent. And even though I go into the turtle shell for long periods of time and feel sorry for myself and stuff and try to lick my wounds, eventually I come back out. I re-up, recharge. Let's do this again. But then pretty soon it just becomes consistent. You're like, okay, I'm in this to win this. It's not that easy to share necessarily on social media, but today, with your help, I was able to be, fairly authentic for the most part. Like, I was very much more today, and I'm trying to break through. I've made 100 of my own videos, but I'm just like, you're the rantings of a madman. But with you here holding space and having, there's a context. One dude talking into the camera. It's different. It's like the rantings of a madman. Who cares? At least Cheryl Lee seems to care today.
I do.
And then maybe other people will watch it and it'll bless them. But the mono things are a little more challenging, and there's a context here. And that's why I love the Elite Video Club, because I got a group of people that have been there. They know me. Hey, Dan's having a good day. Dan's not having a good day. And then I share with them. And then, but when I go on the social media, big tech, the haters,
Yeah.
and just strangers. It's just beating me down to where it's like, this is sacred stuff.
Yeah.
It's a sacred value. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like, you're some dude drinking these drinks and smoking whatever, telling me I'm skinny and ugly and stupid and all this stuff. It's like, I don't really want to throw any girls to the swine, you know?
And it's not helpful. And I mean, some people will say, oh, well, I have, you have to have broad shoulders for, social media and everything. But when you have that awareness of healing and wanting to kind of turn over the traumas and start growing out of that, there's no room for that kind of negativity and that toxicity, because you can get so easily triggered, and it sends you right back to the, you think, oh man, I'm having a great day today. I feel good. Like I'm really connected. I feel like I've got things. And then one asshole says something that, whatever. And it just, everything's done. It completely negates everything from someone who matters nothing, who doesn't know who you are. But yet again, it comes back to that little girl, little boy, whatever, the unhealed, wounded part of ourselves that so desperately wants to be loved and liked and accepted, that it completely, it'll ruin your day. It'll ruin your week, And so it's a very slippery slope entering into that space.
Which is also a blessing, again, to show you. And so they have really helped me, and I'm way stronger now. Like, I don't really take I take it a lot less serious, but over the years I have really let it affect me. Now I don't really absorb the positive or the negative. It's like,
that's
just
amazing.
get healthy and call me for a consult. Like I'm more practical now. It's like, I want to do a consult. I want you to join the Elite Video Club. Hey, if you have questions about some of the things that I, and have an affiliate program with, I'll answer your questions. Like it is a business, because I have goals and I have a woman, and I'm like, like, people that pay attention.
Yeah.
The rest of it is like a business card, like a marketing thing. It's like, listen, man, like, and it shouldn't be like that, but you can't, if people aren't willing to invest in themselves, how much are they willing? It's like, people will be, this is the question. Hey, my grandma has cancer. What should I do? And I say, well, before I spend 10 or 15 or 20 minutes typing out an email response, does your grandma want to heal?
Right.
Well, I want my grandma to
establish
heal.
that first.
Right. And so it's like, well, then tell your grandma to call me for a consult. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just very practicable.
It is.
It's like, and then sometimes you're like, you're a dick. All you care about is money. It's like, no, I can't. It's efficiency. It's reality. And I've invested unbelievable amounts of time and energy into this. If you're not willing to invest a little bit of your time and energy and money, then you're not that serious. And I'm wasting my time and yours. So let's just cut to the chase, So there's more hardcore marketers. I try to be kind. If someone's like, I'm on SSI or whatever, I'll be like, hey, okay, well, can you afford a half price consultation? And then they'll be like, yes. So I try to be nice where I can.
Yeah, sure.
But if people, really want your help and they really want to invest in themselves, they'll invest in you too, because you have to go to your paying clients first. Right. And then you don't have much time, left over. But that's a whole controversial subject. But that's something I've struggled with too. But you have to also come to terms with a lot of that on the internet, because it is your job. This is my job. This is like the guy at Walmart. If you went there and said, I can't believe how selfish you are for getting a paycheck for stocking these shelves, that's like someone saying, I can't believe you're making money on the internet. You're a sellout. It's like, this is my job, dude. And an unbelievable amount of hard work and trauma I've experienced and rough managing the energy of all this.
Yeah, for sure.
So to honor myself, I'm going to continue to focus on so that I can afford to go get a massage. You know what I mean? To deal with all this. So we got to kind of come down to reality too, because there's multiple levels of reality happening at all times, and you got to eat, because otherwise you're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
And the government doesn't give a crap about you. And the guy who's complaining about you making money, he doesn't give an F about you either. So you got to care about yourself, and you got to have standards and boundaries and set up some kind of system in place so that you're being compensated, so that that's another practical thing that's been another part of the challenge of this too. And if you have that, because when I first started, it was all about they like me. They like me, and that's all I care about. And Krista was like, we can't pay the RV payment, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll start doing consults for $60 an hour. And then we sold this little program. And then we sold some other little programs on Facebook. And then we started actually making like $700 for Google AdSense. It still wasn't enough to pay the RV payment. And they ended up finding it and towing it away. And then we broke up. But, so there's that aspect of it too. So you never know what someone else is going through. You don't know what their intentions are. They might have 8 kids and supporting their mom and dad, and you don't know like what's going on with them, and so that's why you don't know what's going on with people's diets, their lifestyle, what they've tried, what they haven't tried. So all the wars on social media are not taking place in reality. And so the social media has all made us crazy.
Yeah.
It's made me nuts, but at the same time, I'm very grateful for it too, because with this phone, I have that phone. With that phone, I can pay my storage payment, pay my rent, buy my girlfriend some flowers, and get a Thai massage, and go to the market and buy, $6 or $8 pineapples.
Yeah.
So thank God for the little phone and the social media. But just like any job, it's got its pros and its cons, and it can be a little bit stressful,
like with anything.
I'm really trying to find peace with it. What really works for me is what I'm doing here is just ranting and raving about nothing. And that's the ones I think that they liked. But then with social media and everyone's attention span getting shorter, and then it's like, average view time, 30 seconds. And it's like, oh my God.
I know.
And then I can go and talk for an hour about, I did it the other day, how to get sober off drugs. And it was like an hour-long thing, and I kept going on all these tangents, and I thought, I can't post that. You got to get it down to like 8 minutes. How to take a lifetime of all the things I've had to sober up from, and now I'm sober. The only drug left is salt, and that's that salt and spices is the final crack in my life, the final white powder, and I'm going to get rid of that,
Yeah. But I feel like with your, the way that you show up and your vulnerability, your authenticity, your honesty, it's like there's going to be a shift in the people who are going to start to, maybe the old people fall away. The ones who, maybe they already have started to fall away. You lost your YouTube channel and now you're starting something back up again. But this new version of you and the people who are going to come in and who are going to follow you and appreciate you for what you're doing is going to be a whole other caliber of the people who are, liking your things and following you. So in a sense, that old maybe had to die. It had to, we had to grieve the death of the old you to allow the new version of yourself to come in. There always has to be that death cycle, even within ourselves, to get to the next stage.
The Liferegenerator has been dying for quite some time.
Yeah, but now it's
and you can still call me that if you want, but I'm actually thinking about rebranding like the Juice Master. No, not the Juice Master, but the Detox Master or the Detox King.
Yeah, something new, something different.
Just some kind of niche where I can just stay on track. But then again, am I just this like kid who's vlogging? I don't know. Maybe that too. But rebranding and stuff, I just want to do a better job. I think I'm really good hands-on. In person. So I've got a few offers to do retreats in Europe, which is where I'll be living. And there's great retreat centers. And there's a couple people that are like, listen, I do the back end. I got the retreat center. I don't want to be the front man. Kind of want to hire me as the front man. I'm like, okay, man. And I'm also like the juice master. Like nobody makes raw food like I do, period.
Right.
And I know that. And it's just that way, like the things that I do and the love that I have. So I hope to do retreats, and I hope to maybe design some more coaching packages or group coaching or group fastings and things like that. And just, up my game a little bit here,
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I just feel like your energy is like it's amazing. And I feel like, and I saw your old stuff as well. And the new version of you is like, it's really, it's such a huge energetic, it's palpable. So I think amazing things are kind of come out of that. So,
There was a lot of people that could relate. Like I used to like the Dan in the RV, but that guy, he has evolved
yeah,
unbelievable a lot about all of it. It's still the
right.
same old stuff. Like I love taking care of the human organism, but
Sure.
there's a lot more going on that's associated with dis-ease. And people call me for consults, and it's like maybe 2% of them have anything to do with food.
Right. Exactly.
It's everything else. It's everything else, and I've been through a lot of it. So I'm able to get into people's, like what's really going on. They're like,
Yeah.
what should I eat? And it's like, well, no, let's find out what's really going
Going on.
on. And what's your job? What's your relationship like? Where do you live? What do you eat? What are your habits? Do you exercise? Everybody's like, no, I don't exercise. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, is that why you haven't been able to lose weight? Nobody exercises.
Yeah. But again, this is all stuff, this is all the numbing out, of the things that we've talked about. It's just not even it's like you can't put two and two together to make four. It's just, and I believe it's just people are just so far, they're detached from the truth, they're detached from the organic ways of living, and they're just from the simplicity, like we talked about before. The simple everything, people think everything has to be so complicated to be somehow just, or to be, to have
Yeah,
meaning. And it's the absolute opposite of that. It's the
right.
simpler it is, the better it is. The more complicated, the worst.
What you'll find as you go down this road, it's not good for the marketing, but the best way to heal is to do nothing.
Yeah, to do
Stop.
nothing.
Stop going to the doctor and taking those pills. Stop trying to stuff yourself and heal yourself with all these diets, and just stop and do
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
and just be there. And then it's going to, oh, I'm holding on to these resentments. No wonder I have, or,
Yeah.
oh, I put everyone else first. No wonder I have breast cancer as a woman.
Mhm.
I put everyone else's needs first.
Yeah.
So I'm getting breast cancer. Or I have all these other, like I have all this colon stuff. It's like, well, I just can't let go. It's like all these other things, and it's has very little to do with the food most of the time.
Absolutely. I mean,
But that can be a segue into looking deeper at other things, because everyone loves food, and that's why I got pretty lucky to be, hey, here's this carrot juice, and you're like, hey, carrot juice, that sounds pretty good.
yeah,
Food, people love the food trip.
yeah,
They're
they
like,
do.
I can eat and get healthier. It's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
don't forget there's many other spokes on the
The
wheel.
wheel. Exactly.
And if food is the catalyst to get you going, and then 23 years later, you're still working on it,
Yeah.
and then everyone's like, Dan, you're a hypochondriac or whatever. It's like, no, I'm just super aware, and I have a super high standard, and I'm going
Yeah.
to the top of the mountain. And if you're going to level off midway, God bless you. See you later. I'll scream at you from the top how awesome it is.
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
going there because I'm being pulled into my divine destiny. And so I know everyone's like, you know what? This is enough. Here, I'm like, I've lost the weight and I'm fine. I'm just going to go back to some of the old ways and I'm fine. But then there's just those of us that are just called,
Yeah.
and we are just going to keep on climbing the mountain because we see our potential. We know it's in there, and we're aware of what we don't know.
Yes.
So everyone is so convinced of what they do know,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they're not aware of what they don't know. And when you
Exactly.
become aware of what you don't know, your ass gets hungry and you
Yeah.
want to know what it is. So I have to stand on my head for 8 hours, meditate 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
fast until I'm a skinny rail,
Yeah.
whatever I got to do to find the truth.
Yes.
I want the truth. I want to know it. I don't want to just talk about it and say all these fancy religious sounding things and make Instagram posts with my tits or my ass in your
Yes.
face. I want to embody the truth so that I'm standing alone, naked by myself, and I know that I have the presence of God within me for myself, by myself, and it's not an ego thing. It's
Exactly.
because I want the presence of God in my own heart for myself.
Yes. And there has to be an exchange of, on that path, being pulled by that vision there needs to be an exchange of the ego and to be able to step into being humble and knowing that you really know nothing and accepting that, it's just a lot of people just they feel like they have to know or they want to be the authority on everything. And it's just that you're not going to grow from that. You have to be able to let that go and be able to, be willing, have the willingness to move forward in the nothingness, really. So
That's very astute. Like that's one of the main things right
yeah,
there. When you really, really get honest with yourself and ask yourself what you know truly is infinitesimal,
yeah,
what is knowable. And
exactly.
that should humble you, but then you're still going around like all these idiots eating meat, all
Yeah,
these retards eating plants. The plants are killing you,
yeah,
and there's some truth to all of it. There
yeah.
really is.
There is, for sure. There is,
You know,
absolutely.
that's
There,
why you eat fruit. But
Well, I mean, but I get that. That's the thing. I mean, for us talking today, it's like we could have had a conversation about just food, but I feel like there's enough information out there about the food. I mean, we know the food's important, but I love that this conversation has been more about, okay, what's underneath just the food. And it does go back to the spoke. It's not, discrediting that food is very important. It's one of the spokes on the wheel. But I think this conversation has been about an invitation for people to look beyond that. Don't stop there. Keep uncovering self inquiry, ask the questions, have that yearning to want to know more. And then just allow, surrender, like we talked about, and just allow for the guidance to help you get there in whatever shows up. Just trust and know that what's coming is there for a reason.
it's total life regeneration.
Yes,
Physical,
absolutely.
emotional, mental, spiritual, soul.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I stop where you are now.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going,
You have
keep going.
unlimited and infinite potential.
So, I asked this question to all of my guests at the end of the podcast. So, I'm going to ask it to you now. And the question is this. So, what is your authentic life print? What is your unique expression as Dan McDonald in the world?
Um, Good question. I don't have a quick answer for that at all. I mean,
Something to ponder.
I'm just so average. And that's what I've had to accept. And that's what's hard because everything on the internet is so over the top, extraordinary.
Yeah,
If you're just an average dude, like I'm average looking, I have an average body, I have
yeah,
average income, I'm average in every way, and there's nothing special or exciting about anything that I do. And I'm trying to find this extravagant
right.
next expression. It's just not there.
Hmm.
It's just basic, simple, common sense that isn't that fancy. No
Yeah,
matter how I package it and market it, it's going to be simple, plain, basic, common sense.
yeah,
That is just simple, basic, common sense truths about natural, wholesome foods
hmm,
and fasting
yeah,
as the greatest miracle because we wonder, why there are no more miracles. It's because there's no more fasting with our
right.
prayers, and so I don't. I wish I had a
That's
better
okay.
answer for that, but I have to be okay with being just average, and I want to go back to having a purified heart
Yeah,
and helping people. The world turns us into money slaves, and then we lose the original purity of why we got into it in the first place. And then the girlfriend says, make me a video every day. We can make money at this. And then that it takes this thing that you're doing for yourself and then it turns it into this thing.
yeah,
And then you're trying to get back to changing that back around, providing the service, and then managing and marketing and creating systems on the back end. There's this one guy, he's like teaching health coaches how to be healthy, but then you see him and he looks absolutely terrible. So he's making tons of money, but he looks like shit. And he
right.
used to look great. He had
Yeah,
nice colored skin, and now he's
yeah.
got like red
Big
splotches, and he's
bags
all
under his eyes.
because now he's a health marketer. And I never wanted to do that. Here's what it is. I finally came to it.
Cool.
I need to live this life first and foremost before I'm a teacher of it, a marketer of it, a guy who's like making podcasts or whatever, getting famous, making money. I am living this lifestyle. That's all I've ever really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I made a video on accident, and I'm grateful, but it has its pros and its cons because a lot of the original purity got lost, and now I'm coming back to that. But first and foremost, I'd rather be dead broke and living this lifestyle than be rich and start to lose it and get pale and weak and sickly and have diseases and red spots on my skin. Here's how you can make 4 or 6 digits or 7 digits in your health food business. And it's like, but at what cost?
Yeah, right.
And look at you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, but you look at you, you lost your health because you're inside on the internet all day making money.
Yeah.
But I still want to provide for my wife and potential future kids. So I'm going to find a way.
Yeah.
I'm going to
believe you.
Study my ass off on internet marketing and stuff. And I'm going to find a way, because what I've had is low end and a little bit of middle end, but I've never had the high end. And I have had a few people that came for private retreats. Mm-hmm. And now I have another friend of mine. She wants to do her 3rd one because she gets upgraded. And I just got to find a way to package that, because that's what I'm the best at. Is like, you come, you hang out with DTM. Everyone gets healthy around DTM. I don't even have to try.
Yeah.
I don't even have to put out any effort. Everyone gets healthier around the DTM. And the closer that you get and the more you invest in yourself and me, the more I can get you. There'll be a hose in one end, a hose in another.
Yeah, yeah.
A neti pot up here. You'll have wax coming out your ears, crust coming out your eyes, mucus coming out your nose, cheeseburgers coming out your ass. You'll be sweating it out because we'll do the hot and cold. So that's the direction I want to go, is more one-on-one or group retreats and coaching. So God bless you, Cheryl Lee, for helping me today. You helped me. This video helped me a lot.
I love that.
To break the ice.
Good.
Thank you.
Amazing. You're welcome. Thank you for coming on and sharing. So, we mentioned the Elite Video Club when we first started this podcast. And again, it's like, I can't say enough about how, like I said, I've been on other platforms where, there's a weekly call, but this platform of yours, it's like the raw vulnerability and the truth sharing and the community is like, it's an energy. When you get on, there's an energy there. So
are you on the Children of Light group?
I don't think so. I don't even know if I know what that is.
We have a Children of Light WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know about that.
Support group. I pop in there every once in a while, but that's how I keep in communication. So that's
okay.
Go scroll through and you'll find a post, the Children of the Light WhatsApp group. Click on that link and it'll take you to the WhatsApp group. So that's another part of it. But then, it's a great community and people have been showing up there for a long time. And it's just like this. It's like anywhere from 90 minutes to 3. One time we did 4 hours.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Of me just rapping, telling everyone where I'm at, answering questions. It's pretty cool. The Elite Video Club also, you get half price consultations. So it's a no-brainer. And I appreciate you, because that's kind of the only place I've really felt safe, because it's Zoom and it's Vimeo. And I haven't had any problems, but on the YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook, I've been censored to death,
Yeah.
And it sucks. So I can express myself over there freely. And I don't have to, my throat chakra gets blocked up on these other ones. And then my heart chakra gets blocked up.
Yes.
And then I'm not able to and then it's like, fuck it. It's not worth it. I don't even like it.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like, I'm like, hi,
I'm
McDonald. There's these people and they're not real nice. And,
I know.
It's more hey, they're trying to kill you. Yeah. They're trying to kill you. They've been doing it. Yeah. It's nothing new under the sun, but you might want to know who it is, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they're doing it, so you can avoid that stuff. You won't spread it on your skin. You won't shoot it into your skin. You won't drink it. You won't smoke it. You won't do it, because it's designed to take away your life. And I'm the life regenerator, and I want to regenerate this one first and foremost because I want to be my best for my woman, and I want to be my best for myself. Because I like hanging out with this dude. I'm this dude's best friend. We're chilling.
Yes.
We have dinner dates. We're having a walking date today. We're about to go jump in the river. We do some hot and cold treatment. I'm drinking out of springs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm my own best friend, and I love my own company.
Yeah, and
I don't want to be like, I want to get this so I'm even more pleasant with myself. Let's get this out. So today really helped me a lot.
Good. I'm so happy. I will. Yeah. Thank you too. I'm going to list all of your, I'll put your Instagram and I'll put your Patreon, the link to your Elite Video Club in the show notes. And just thank you so much for showing up. Your vulnerability and your honesty is I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you so much.
It has been a pleasure, and just very, very helpful for me to help get some of this off my chest because it's been sitting here for weeks.
Yeah.
And the only place I have to express myself is the Elite Video Club. And I'm trying to get back on the YouTube and the social media because I do miss it. I do love everyone. I am very grateful for all the love and support. I'm surrounded by really, really good people. And it's just the random little anonymous nobodies that ruin it for all of us. But we're going to have to just get used to them. And they're not even real.
Yeah, they're not even real. Yeah.
And so it's just, but unless you're an influencer and you're a sensitive one, then you wouldn't really be able to understand, that it's just day in and day out for 14 years. After a while, you get, a little bit, you're like, this is your own sacred journey. It really, really matters to you. Like, you love yourself.
It really does.
And to share that, to be vulnerable, to open yourself up to attacks or whatever, it's a fine line, between wanting to help, wanting to earn an income, and also to try to protect your own sanctity and your own purity and your own essence, so it's a real tightrope.
It's a dance. It's a real dance, so, well, thank you so much.